And now, from an obscure studio in southern Genesee County, Michigan, your award-winning investigative reporter and host of the Morning Gazette radio show, Mike Kilbreth.
Good morning, everybody out there in radio land and TV land. This isn't the Morning Gazette radio show. It's the Weekend Gazette, a new weekly show every Sunday. It's going to be on Channel 90 on Comcast Xfinity sometime after Thanksgiving. Maybe a couple Sundays after Thanksgiving is our tentative starting date. We wanted to get the bugs out with a YouTube presentation. We had a couple big stories. We have a public official wanting some pay to play for a project, and we've got a situation in Burton where you need to know who to vote for. And kind of getting a new format for a weekly show, kind of a weekend review, and a couple big stories is our tradition here on the Morning Gazette radio show. I keep saying that, and forgive me, I'll probably slip up a lot, but this is the Weekend Gazette. And you know that open, I never thought I'd be sitting behind this microphone again. My wife retired me a year ago. I had congestive heart failure and kidney failure after a bout with COVID. And I'm on dialysis. I'm in need of a transplant to live to old age. So if you know anybody willing and able and healthy enough to donate a kidney, I'm in the market for one. And if that happens, hey, I might get back to doing a show every day again. You know, after 12 years of doing this show every weekday morning, a 90-minute show followed by an hour sports show at night and a 2-hour sports show on the weekends. I need to figure out with this new lifestyle of mine of doing dialysis 3 days a week. They try to kill me. I keep surviving. But the question is, how much can I actually work? And can I work? Because I don't have good health right now. But we tried to put this show together to see, can I do one weekly show per week with 100 phone calls to return and dozens of emails and texts? I'm a little behind. If I didn't get to you or I didn't pick up your ad, I need some help. We haven't hired people yet. We wanted to go early because we have a couple big stories. One with a bid on a city project. We have a public official demanding some, not demanding, but hinting around that he wants some pay to play. And it's real, this pay to play. And you hear this tape that we're going to release today, you'll understand what business people are up against with a lot of, I'm going to just say it, crooked politicians. And we have a whole lot of them. You know, back on March 1st, I got a whole bunch of phone calls because of a gentleman in one city that was arrested for ethnic intimidation. He was a 14-year detective at a local police department. And that led to some investigation into one particular case, and one thing led to another, and we've unraveled a whole lot of stuff in the city of Burton. We'll get to that a little later. First, our format, we're going to have a weekend review, if you will, everything from the national and world scene to what's going on in the state to our local area, and then a little bit of the sports world highlights. And then we'll shift to a couple big stories. We have the one with the public official and elected official wanting some pay to play to get a contract approved. And then the second one, some more explosive tapes, recordings of police officers in one city that you don't want to miss. It may help you decide who to vote for on Tuesday. That's the reason we went early with this show. And we'll be back I have to say, I have to shout out to, I got one free dinner on Friday from a new restaurant in Clio called Andy's Country Chef. Great food. They have their grand opening tomorrow. I urge you to get out there and support people who support our show. Also out in Davison, we have a new business, Randall's Pizzeria in the Davison Farmers Market. They were serving up pizzas on Saturday, and they were out of food by 1 o'clock, I'm told. But check them out. Randall's Pizzeria out in Davison and Andy's Country Chef, their grand opening tomorrow in Clio. So a couple new businesses for you. And we'll be back to take a look at the weekend review, and then we'll get to those explosive recordings of one businessman recorded an elected official wanting some pay to play, and then a second one, some recordings of some Burton police officers. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. I'm Mike Kilbreth. This is the Weekend Gazette.
Getting involved with the game doesn't mean you have to become pro. Take an alternate route and become an official now. There are a lot of life lessons that come with officiating. You learn to deal with conflicts and be confident in your decisions. It's not just about you, but about kids and helping them learn the proper way to play the game. You have a chance to make a difference. Become an official.
Country Home Creations got it started in 1980, and today owner Shirley Kaufman Jones has more than 100 different gourmet mixes that can be found at thousands of retailers. The best part? They still use the same premium ingredients to craft their mixes by hand. Whether you're looking for dip mixes, pickle mixes, soup mixes, cheesecake mixes, or delicious recipes, look no further than the simple creations of Country Home Creations. The Atlas Township supervisor and owner of Country Home Creations is proud to support the hometown Goodrich Martians boys and girls basketball teams. Hey, do you need help setting up a website, using internet tools, creating a Facebook page? Contact the eToday team, your e-commerce specialist. Call 810-347-9803 today. That's 810-347-9803.
What's the best decision you can make for your business?
Your membership in the Flint Area Chamber of Commerce is the best investment that your small business can make.
Hi, I'm Ryan Ishu with RE/MAX Real Estate Team, and Flint's future is looking so bright, I have to wear shades.
Visit us online, flintareachamber.org.
Your membership helps us develop a strong, united voice for the business community.
Building a better Flint and Genesee County.
Discoveries. They happen when we least expect them, in places we thought we knew. And discoveries have a way of teaching us a little more about ourselves along the way. Welcome to Flint and Genesee County, where up north meets down south. Home to Michigan's largest county park system and a vibrant culture. A place filled with discoveries we've yet to make, throughout acres of beautiful lakes, wetlands, and woods, and in the diverse city beyond. Where the uplifting melodies of gospel choirs fill the air, where the work of renowned artists color the galleries and museums, where the fresh fruits and vegetables at the downtown farmers market awaken our senses, and where the cultural center and planetarium broaden our view of the world. Let's spend a few days enjoying the wonders of Flint and Genesee County, where the joy of discovery is pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Hey, I'm Mike Kilbreth. I'm known around these parts for making sure I get all the big scoops on news stories, and I've got one for you. There's a new book coming out on March 31st, and you got to get a copy. You can go to thedailygazette.net and follow the links to pre-order your very own autographed copy from new author Gunnar Allen Lindebloom. He's debuting his first novel, introducing To Be a King. Be sure to pre-order your copy today.
Never met George Armani.
I don't know Ralph Lauren. Ann Taylor, Donna Corinne, no idea.
But I'd like to thank them for donating their clothes. Our customers won't mind if their names are still sewn in them. My mom did that to my clothes, too. Only she used a marker.
And now, back to Mike with more politics, sports, and lively conversation on local topics with whatever else is shaking in Genesee County. It's the Morning Gazette radio show with Mike Kilbreth.
And we're back here on the Weekend Gazette. I am Mike Kilbreth, and we're going to take a quick tour around the area, around the state, and around the nation and the world with all the news that took place last week that you missed. You can get them in one sitting here on the Weekend Gazette every week. That's our goal. And of course, we want to bring you some stories you haven't heard anywhere else, you haven't seen anywhere else in the local media. And with that note, I want to put one out, a big scoop that, I got a couple big scoops. One locally out in Flint Township, Lisa Anderson, the township treasurer that, I chased away during my time away from the radio. Found out she didn't even live in Flint Township. She hadn't lived there in 3 months. She announced she was going to finish out her term, even though she was flying in from Georgia. Well, I spelled out the law, the statutes, and after she had said she was going to finish out her term, I spoke. She decided to go away. Now, she has filed, get this, for unemployment. She's an elected official. She wants unemployment. She's also mad about not getting insurance longer than she did. They voted to give it to her till the end of August, I think, and she shouldn't have had it since June. She sold her house in Flint Township. She had a new house in Georgia. She was flying in. We busted her in a rental car, got video of her over at the airport flying out. She just flew in and then flew out for a meeting. And she's now wanting unemployment. That's a big story that needs to be told. You've heard it nowhere in the local media. We had a press conference earlier in the week announcing a new crime commission. We don't know the name of it yet. The Flint Area Chamber of Commerce has spent the last 10 years or so studying the idea. Pat Clausen, rest his soul, a former investigative reporter at the original CNN. He brought the idea to the chamber and he pushed hard for it. He did a lot of work on it. I think he's smiling down from heaven that we're actually now putting it into motion. It's going to be incorporated into my new national TV show. We're going to have a half-hour segment in Michigan to 1.2 million Comcast homes and available on YouTube for the rest of the people that don't have cable. The idea is that this crime commission will raise money to help investigate stories around the state of Michigan and do some good to clean up the public corruption all over this state. The idea is to have 2 Michigan segments sandwiched in between a 10-minute national segment at the beginning, a 10-minute national segment at the end, with a lot of reporters and friends around the country. We have 52 million homes on the cable networks and 62 million homes that have Roku devices. And, of course, all the gadgets for the streaming stuff from YouTube that you can flick it to your TV set. So we're going to have a lot of viewers. Everywhere we have holes on the cable map, I've got friends putting together segments similar to the way I'm going to do in Michigan. Here's a little bit from the press conference earlier in the week about the new crime commission. I made the announcement at the Monday press conference, where we had a couple other announcements as well. We'll get to those in just a second. The idea is to pattern after some big city crime commissions that are in the middle of tremendous corruption. They've cleaned up places like New York a few times, Detroit. Kwame went to jail. I think some of you guys in Detroit know some kids out of college had a lot to do with that. And the Free Press takes full credit, got a Pulitzer Prize. But a Citizens Crime Commission can do a lot of damage. What can it do? You can Google it to find out, but the long and short of it is this. If John Carpenter here steals money, and he steals my tax dollars, our crime commission can get the facts when the police and the FBI look the other way. And we can bust him, and we can go to civil court with lawyers, young lawyers, college students, researchers that are young kids, accountants, forensic accountants, and we can go to court and get a judgment against John Carpenter to embarrass the prosecutor, the attorney general who didn't want to bring charges, the state police, the FBI, whoever. In our target are some law enforcement people, and we're just going to be honest. I think people that know me, 49 years as a journalist, I used to write a great story in my newspapers. It'd go out to 86,000 people, and the guy get arrested next week. I mean, I'll go to the most recent stories. I fought for, what's her name? Kathy Funk. Okay? She fixed an election. 5 people were impacted. Rod Shoemaker is here today. He's won elections as a Republican and a Democrat in 3 townships for 30 years. He decided to run for county commissioner, and he lost by a slim margin. Now, Rod Shoemaker, if anyone knows him, knows exactly how many absentee votes he's going to get. Somebody threw him away, or Rod Shoemaker's friends aren't his friends anymore. Don Wright, the eventual county board chairman, Dominic Clemens, did not win that race. Don Wright did, as he told the county commissioners one day when I stopped government, because they didn't want to let me talk but for 2 minutes, and I mentioned on my radio show I want some more time. People stood up and started volunteering their time. And I told them before I started, you shouldn't have done that last week. Gave me a great idea. So I talked as long as I wanted. When I was done, John Gleason was in handcuffs within, 10 days. That's what happens when we get the attention of the public. It's harder and harder to do when the media, and back to my partners around the country, most of them are guys I've worked with, guys I know well, who either have quit their job, as some in this market have done, because you do a great story, and I see some good media people here, you do a great story, and sometimes your bosses go, we can't do that story. A man sitting next to me gave me a $50,000 budget down in Detroit with his battle with Mike Duck. And all the TV stations were excited. They're trying to get a piece of that 50 grand. And they called me up and said, hey, Mike, we can't do any commercials for Bob Carmack. We can't do any commercials for him. Or our boss won't let us. What kind of country are we living in? We've got a lot of things to look at, and I'm going to throw it out to the media, to your friends, that you can whisper to when you stand next to them at your next meeting. I know Ronnie Dow was on Charlie Liddell's show because they're bad-mouthing her right now and she needs your help. Ronnie Dow busted Sheldon Neely on a couple shows that she told Charlie Liddell. And I think that speaks for itself. Matter of fact, we have a guy willing to be our first interim executive director until we get money rounded up the way we want to hire the right person. We have a chairman of the board who, this gentleman, his name is Don Pfeiffer. I think some of you know him. Winnis, I think you had him on your show. To say he is riled up is an understatement. They threatened his brother. Don, he spent over $100 grand twice trying to run for mayor, and it was all his own money. I think he's the perfect guy to help lead getting some money to put every crooked politician and every crooked general manager of a news station in prison. And that's what we're going to try to do. When you go with a man that has 50 grand to say, I want to buy some commercials, and the boss says no, you kind of understand why the news media is so twisted right now. Because some of the best stories are not presented on TV, are not presented in the news media. I got guys all over the country excited about doing their own thing, and we're going to help them sell commercials all over the country. I've got some guys lined up. A year ago, they dismissed all charges. Here was Bob Carmack addressing the Genesee County Board of Commissioners and our local prosecutor, David Layton, and he vows he wants him in jail. I don't know if he's going to get him there, but he's been doing a lot of investigating. Here was Bob Carmack last October.
My name is Robert Carmack. I was charged with a false crime by David Layton. He killed my mother because he wouldn't let me take care of her when she was sick. She was 80 years old. She fell, ripped her leg open, and died from it. He put 2 tethers on me, an innocent man, because he did a political favor for Mike Duggan, who I caught cheating on his wife. I pressed charges on this at the Sheriff's Department. False arrest, malicious prosecution, abuse of power, and so forth. You need to lock this guy up right there. Lock him up. He needs to go to jail. That's what he needs to go. This ain't no political thing in life. I'm a citizen. You just don't put charges on it because your buddy, another person that you're friends with as prosecutors back in 2001 and 2003. You bring charges on somebody. Kept it on for 5 years. They kept these tethers on for 2.5 years. I got colon cancer now. From the tethers, the electric shock running up my rear end, I got colon from the bottom of my butt where I could die. Just like this lady died yesterday. I got colon cancer. I'm a single father with 6 kids. And that's what this man's done. He had no evidence, no documentation. He signed a warrant, Tamara Phillips, just because I put a billboard out of him cheating on his wife, Mayor Duggan. This man needs to be investigated. This needs to be investigated. I need someone to talk to about this. This is serious. It's been sitting at the sheriff's office for 3 or 4 weeks. He got some evidence that he committed a crime. You got to get a special prosecutor out here to investigate him and not one of his friends that's on the Prosecutors Association. Because I know he knows all them too. And then his son works for Dana Nessel. All that's over with. I know a little bit about politics. Any other?
Now a year has passed. His drunk driving case that they slapped on him, and he said he never started the car. I believe him. Matter of fact, I found evidence, and when he told the judge about that evidence, when they were trying to do the drunk driving trial last week or 2 weeks ago, they stopped the trial. And he went to war with the mayor of Detroit about 5 years ago. Quite a case, quite a story. I'm going to cut right to his segment in this press conference. It's good stuff. They slapped 2 tethers on him the morning before the press conference, and he came down to Flint because he's at war now with the prosecutor of Genesee County, David Layton. Now, this is a guy who's well known in Detroit. Like our prosecutor, Bob. I'll introduce him quickly this way. Bob Carmack was indicted for getting the mail. Our prosecutor in Genesee County brought charges on this man. I wrote a letter telling Mr. Layton all the charges I'd found. And he sent a copy of it to a crooked cop in Detroit that's been on camera beating people up, framing people. She arrested Bob because she's the mayor's right-hand man, correct?
She's the big four of the mayor.
Well, Bob has been through all kinds of corruption. He's a good man, and let me tell you something. I've never met a man who's like Bob Carmack. Bob, he's been flying airplanes around the city of Detroit. He's been on national TV, and if he's mad at me, I want to apologize right away. So, with that, Bob, I'm going to turn it over to you.
And if you could have a seat.
You need this back over here. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Carmack. Let me get away from the window seat.
You better get far away. I was a small-time Detroit businessman. Grew up in second generation, just trying to take care of people, help people. I got into politics back there in Kwame's time. And I only got into politics because I tried to change the way Southwest Detroit looked was before. I tried to do a project on the riverfront. I'd left a deposit on property. I tried to do it. I couldn't get it. They wanted me to pay 50 grand. I wouldn't pay. So, the situation, I never got the property. I waited after administration. The city said they were broke. And then here come Duggan coming in. He wanted me to pay too, or partner with his kid. I wouldn't partner with his kid. I wouldn't pay his guy $10,000, $20,000 a month, so I didn't get the deal. I went to city council. I told Gabe Leland that couldn't get the deal. I had offered to purchase. Gabe Leland extorted $30,000 from me. I was a federal witness. He took federal money. He got probation for taking their money. Me, I got charged with 2 false crimes 60 days later because I put a private eye on a mayor cheating on his wife who tore my building down when I went to the White House for the Easter egg hunt. And the situation is, I filed a lawsuit against him in March of 2018. In March of 2018, he was personally in that suit. What I didn't know is he had a girlfriend on the side. So I put 4 private eyes on him, followed him for 4 months, found him cheating, not on his wife with one girl, but many girls. And he didn't live in the mansion. The situation is that once I put that out, he thought I had a video of him, a sex video of him and the girl in the house. The situation is, I had a press conference, I told him I had a bunch of stuff on him, and he got scared. He got these charges filed on me of false pretenses. That's altered, forged document, and he just made it up. He got it through Kim Worthy's office, who did not investigate it. She said she had a conflict because of me, because she had a conflict because I was suing the mayor and Eric Sabri. That's not true. She had a conflict with me personally. I had wrote her campaign checks. I picked Don Fassard's car for free. A couple of times she was her chief of staff. She lied to the public. So she passed that warrant to the Attorney General's office, which was Schuette's office, which Schuette and Matthew Snyder had a relationship with Duggan. They passed it on to David Layton. David Layton had a relationship with Duggan on the Flint water stuff. David Layton is the one that bonded all that stuff with the Flint water. David Layton signed my warrant, which is a false warrant. It's a crime. David Layton has broke the law. David Layton has abused his power. David Layton has committed malicious prosecution. David Layton needs to go to prison. I have filed a complaint with the Sheriff's Department here in Genesee County. That complaint's been there 8 months before Christmas. You got Christmas pictures with your sheriff and with David Layton out there. Your sheriff ain't following the law. He's put in there by the public. If a person's committed a crime, it includes David Layton, he needs to be charged. He needs to take it to the Attorney General's office. The problem with that is David Layton's son works for Dana Nessel. And not only that, Mike Duggan, Dana Nessel, Kim Worthy, all these people work together at one time. They have a syndicate in this state. They're running a syndicate. If you're on their team, you don't get charged with a crime. But if you're opposite them, they will get you charged falsely and in fixing elections. If you control the U.S. Attorney, the FBI, the state attorney, and the county attorney, you could become a criminal, you become a murderer, you could become anything you want. And that's what they're doing. There need to be someone from the feds to come in here, investigate the FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office, the state attorney's office, and Wayne County, and other counties, and Genesee. The situation is that during the Flint water stuff, I met with Rick Snyder and Munchmore in 2014. I gave this information to Dana Nessel. I showed her exactly where Jim Heath, who was the head of the Detroit water system, told him what to do, to flush the system, to go back on corrosion control, and do that right away in 2014. They didn't do it. They kept it going. And they kept it going many, many years afterwards. In 2014, they could stop it. Nobody would have died. Nobody would have got hurt. If they only listened to, he was a black man. They didn't listen to him. But he was the smartest man about the Detroit water system, was in it for 40 years. He knew more than anybody. Even the mafia knew to hire him. That's how well known he was. The situation is that they didn't do that. And then Dana Nessel, I told from the beginning, who hid this information from the public, from the lawsuits, some of the civil and the criminal, that Jim Heath told them what to do. And they did not do it. There is a Wednesday press conference to have her impeached. She needs to be impeached. She is not working for the people. She is working for her friends, her party, and not the people of Michigan. She has to follow the Constitution of this United States, Constitution of the state of Michigan, and statutes. And she, their impeachment has already been put into process and so forth. And, you know, being a federal witness, and these charges, one is false pretenses, one is a DUI. 9 months he put a pride eye on me, a three-man team across from my house. Followed my house, watched my kid's house, and everything. The situation is that, you know, he got me charged by Brownstown Police for a DUI without the key to the car on me, arrested me while I was inside the bar, tearing my plate up while I was inside the bar, towing my car while I was inside the bar, and put me in the handcuffs. And they arrested me at 2:30 in the morning. 3 guys with guns on at 2:30 in the morning. I'm always going to park us. These charges have been on 4 years. There's no drunk driving charge last 4 years. There's no deed fraud last 5 years, going on 6 years. When they dropped my deed fraud case, I went to the city council. I said, listen, only reason he brought these charges on me because I called him cheating on his girlfriend. He needs to be impeached and removed out of it. They did an investigation. They said if they did that, he needs to be removed. 30 days later, I got the charges right back on me by a new judge. 3 judges, all appointed by Gretchen Whitmer. The first judge got promoted to a higher court. The second judge, he was 30 years old. He went from the Frank Murphy court to the appeals court. He's only 33 years old. My 4th judge came out of Kim Worthy's office, who signed a warrant. My judge right now is a person that signed both my warrants to protect Kim Worthy, to protect Dana Nessel, to protect David Layton, and all of them. That is my judge. And this judge here has my case today. That's my story.
We'll have Bob take a few questions. I want to end with this. In his deed fraud case, Steve Haney, a pretty prominent attorney, it's Magic Johnson's brother-in-law. He was 77-0 as a prosecutor. He's one of the 18, 19 attorneys Bob's fired because he's getting tired of paying attorneys money all the time. And he's now representing himself in a drunk driving case. And I kept thinking, he's just joking. Well, we went to court and he did ask for an attorney, and the judge said, no, you can't have an attorney. Now, I've never seen anything like this, but Bob mentioned that I was going to be his only witness because we had a film crew doing a documentary on Bob's ordeal. We've had a couple notable offers, including one that said, we're not interested in a 2-hour documentary. Can you give us 10 one-hour shows? This man is giving you guys national story in the city of Detroit. Only M.L. Elric, who works at the Free Press, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner, taking down Kwame. He's the only guy, and he sat through the jury selection, everything. Only guy there, because everybody else's bosses tell him, no, M.L. Elric, he don't care. They don't tell him, no, he'll quit, because he's a good reporter. Now, I say that to say this. In looking at inventory reports, if you guys ever had any high-profile drunk driving cases, you know, the inventory report didn't have any keys. Okay? Maybe it's out at the tow yard. Tow yard inventory, got my hands on it, didn't have any keys. I'm thinking, hey, if I'm saying he didn't start the car, it's probably true. Well, 9 months after the incident, I talked to the Brownstown Township Police Chief, who was supposed to go on camera with me, and his bosses decided we might get sued. That wouldn't be a good idea. Let me translate. They didn't like hearing about, did you guys know he didn't have any keys? And by the way, we have a recording of the officer who arrested him who said he never started the car. And yet, it says on the indictment he started the car. He's a magician. He started the car with no keys, I guess. I think he's telling the truth. Now, when Bob wanted to call me as a witness, he had to explain that to the judge and finish with this. The tow truck driver, 9 months later, just happened to tell a police officer that he loved Corvettes and he filmed Bob starting the car. I heard that. I've been a reporter a long time, but there's no keys. I just don't see how that could be a real video. And we're looking at it, and we decided that wasn't Bob's car. They recreated the scene in the middle of the night to try to, 9 months later, we found a video from the tow truck guy. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this man needs some help. And the media can save his life, because the judge said, we're going to trial Monday. And they started picking a jury, and you don't have a lawyer. I also can testify that I've been with this man a number of times. He's a fun guy. And he came Saturday to breakfast. He bought for the, a whole table, a whole restaurant sometimes. He's just a fun guy. I've been around Charlie LaDuff. He tried to give Charlie LaDuff some money to investigate. Charlie wouldn't take it, so Bob walked around downtown Detroit, handed out $100 bills to bums. That's the kind of guy he is. Now, he's donated, I think last winter, Duncan Beagle had a fundraiser on my radio show to raise money for some inner city kids that wanted to go to a tournament. They didn't have any money. And we were raising money, and I was sitting next to Duncan Beagle, and Bob said, well, how much you need? Duncan says, we're trying to raise $500. He pulls $500 out of his pocket, says, send them kids wherever they want to go. Now, that's the kind of guy this man sitting next to me is. Well, if he didn't start the car, why is he on trial for drunk driving? That's one. Two, if the cop said he didn't start the car, and we have an affidavit and tape, why is he on trial for drunk driving? And the judge said, we're going to trial. Well, at about 4 o'clock, the Attorney General gets a text and says, Your Honor, this case has been adjourned. The judge said, I didn't adjourn the case. He goes, well, it's been adjourned. What do you mean it's been adjourned? They have a little sidebar, and I see Bob grinning, so, I don't know if the FBI adjourned it or what happened, but somebody above the judge and above the Attorney General said, this trial's adjourned. And the judge said, we're going to trial on Monday. Well, he came back the next morning, he said, we're going to trial tomorrow morning. I'll get to the bottom of this guy. I didn't adjourn this case. Next morning he came in and said, what do you say, Bob? I don't like the jury. I've never, any reporters have ever heard a judge say, I don't like the jury.
You don't like the jury.
We're going to adjourn this trial. I don't think he adjourned it, folks. And I hope somebody set him up. And I'll say it, I hope somebody set him up. Maybe the Attorney General heard that, wait a minute, they got a phony video. That's what my hope is. Let's put faith in the Attorney General that maybe she called. Maybe she's the one that called and said, well, wait a minute. Why are you charging Bob Carmack with drunk driving if there's no keys everywhere? This case stinks. You made up a video? They came back and said, Your Honor, we've been talking, we're not going to use that video in the trial. So Mike Kilbreath's really not relevant. The judge said, I agree, Mike Kilbreath's not relevant. So he's got no attorney, no witnesses, and he actually was kicking the other attorney's ass, to be honest with you, even though he's not an attorney. But any questions for Bob? I'll turn it over to him. And one more thing. Go ahead.
When I was 35 years old, I died. I went up to purgatory. I went up like this new movie that just came out, where people die and they leave their body. I left my body. I went above it. I went through the light. I went up to a cloud. God said, I got something for you to do. And this when I was 35 years old. I got sent back. I came here and I had nothing at the beginning of anything to do with anything that changed my life. Now, the last 10 years, things have changed and so forth. God is tired of corruption. God is tired of politics. God is tired of the power that these freaks think they got. The only person that got power is God. Power Power and money will get you to hell. Billionaires don't make it happen. They don't help us. God's children, that's all he cares about. He don't care about nothing. He don't care about money or power. He has it all. He sent me back as a messenger, man. These cats don't quit, right? He's gonna wipe this earth clean. I'm telling you. Listen to me. My family's from Tennessee. The first person that said something about the air is Gore. Carmax and Gore, if you Google it, they married each other. They're family. These are all connections that I just found out. There's a statue of my uncle in front of the Capitol of Nashville who got shot and killed by the governor. Here I got the governor, right, doing me, right? This is God. I cannot do this stuff. Okay? I get the water, the land I was trying to buy, it fell in the river. The guy that said to me that if you don't slow down, you're going to have a stroke. He had a stroke. I had 64 people die. They had heart attacks or strokes that had gone against me. Everybody will go against me once he sent me down. And they have, but I punched him. I hit him. He said, I got in 2 fights. He said, don't get in a fight. I got your back. Ever since that, right? I had 5-7 lawyers die in a row. He knows. I'm telling you, this is real. That's it.
In an update to the Carmack case, I talked to him Saturday. He's in the hospital. Now, Bob has stage 4 cancer. He claims he thinks the cancer has been caused by wearing these 2 tethers on his legs for the last 4 or 5 years, however long they've been on him, but they slapped them back on him, and within a week, he says he can't walk, and it caused his back to crack. He's in good spirits, but Bob's not walking too well, and he claims they're trying to kill him. He thinks they sent some electric shocks, some extra shocks to crack his back. I don't know about that, but he did make an interesting comment. He mentioned that the Genesee County Sheriff, Chris Swanson, after that little clip we played of him at the Genesee County Board of Commissioners over a year ago, he made a complaint that particular day to the Genesee County Sheriff. A Detective Walker took the complaint against David Layton. Now, we're going to have to send a request out to Sheriff Swanson for some information on what happened to that investigation. You know, Bob Carmack makes a good point that Sheriff Swanson campaigned with David Layton. All his signs were side by side across the county. Should the sheriff recuse himself? Did he recuse himself and hand it off to another department? Hey, we need to know. I like Sheriff Swanson. I tried to tell Bob Carmack, hey, the sheriff's a good guy. Sit down with him. Get Bob Carmack. He's at war with David Layton. I think Sheriff Swanson needs to sit down and hear him out and maybe figure out what's going on here. Maybe Sheriff Swanson can be the man to see some reason in here. If he's friends with David Layton, maybe he can talk to David Layton. That's my opinion, because Bob Carmack should not have 2 tethers on him. This guy is a good guy. You know, I just don't know what to say. We'll get into it later with some shows as we get going here with our new Weekend Gazette. Speaking of Sheriff Swanson, you know, he had a press conference about the missing woman in Flushing. He was an employee at the Sheriff's Department, and he had a press conference about it this past week. We want to cut to Sheriff Swanson talking about making a plea for information on this case.
I need to talk to this person. The one who sent this anonymous information that was very powerful, that led us to Ogama County, because it was sent to the Ogama County Sheriff's Office. This letter talked about a specific location. In fact, the coordinates of those locations took us to this address, right inside Ogama County, to this location. It was so specific on saying, go to this dead-end road, look for a wheelbarrow, look for a spot where dirt was disturbed. This came in on the 26th of October, just last Thursday. It was sent to the Sheriff's Office. They called us. Our investigators deployed immediately. We went there, we contacted the state police, they brought their cadaver dogs, and we secured the location. Our evidence technicians went up there, but we didn't find anything. At least not Kelly. What we did find is an unusual dig site that was not by accident. The site was so unusual that when virgin dirt is disturbed, it can never go back to what it normally is. So there's always a different consistency when you probe it. There's a spot that even looks so real life that a person could have been, or at least started to have been dug there, but there was no body. This is why we need to contact this person. You're not in any trouble. You were so specific on your directions that you obviously felt burdened enough to send it. Concerned maybe you had a bad interaction with law enforcement, maybe you're scared. I assure you, you have nothing to be scared about. And the sheriff's office up there and myself, we will treat you with the respect and dignity. But why? Why did you send this with such specific details and we couldn't find anything? That's what's been going on, among other things, over these last several days. The reason for this briefing with Lieutenant Nicholson, Lieutenant Stadler, is to show you what we've been doing for all these days and all that the DB is doing. But that's the takeaway that I need the media, because I do know this. The caller from Saginaw that saw the truck that identified it was what led us to the 2009 F-150 where Higgins took his life. I know that a caller called the homeowner up in Prescott saying, I just saw the briefing, that guy you have there is wanted for possible murder. And I also know that whoever sent this probably saw a briefing from one of these news channels. So please, you can call 810-257-3422. Our 24-hour dispatch will get you in touch with either Lieutenant Stadler or Nicholson, and we will protect you, watch over you. You don't even have to be known by anybody. I'm not going to put you out there, but I need to get the answers to that. In a minute, you're going to hear from both investigators. You're going to hear the command, but I want to show where we are to kind of give some background, because I know we've been contacted by close friends and family members, and sometimes out of sight, out of mind, but not for this case. We have searched over 500 acres from Ohio to Ogama County. We've had 1,000 hours committed from this office just to put a case together that started 2 weeks ago last Monday. 1,000 hours. We've been in 5 counties: Genesee, Ogama, Tuscola Bay, and Saginaw County, including 2 states, Ohio and Michigan. The work that their team has done is nothing but exceptional. This is a case where we've had cold cases. We had a body. We thought we knew who did it. We have a body. We know who did it. That's a who did it. How do we prove the case? This is a where did it. This is a where's the body. Again, everything we say is based on our investigation. We're confident that there's nobody else that was responsible for taking the life of Kelly McWhorter, but we always leave options open. We don't know who is involved. Clearly, somebody knew something, which is the reason why we're here. We use the resources like the state police. This is what's called Trooper 3. It's based out of Bishop Airport. And they flew all the way up to Ogama County and they helped us search. In fact, Lieutenant Stadler was in that bird. And how many hours did you fly with MSP, and how much work did they put in to try to find a dig site?
We were up in the air about 4.5 hours, and they used all the tools that they had and the experience that they have to try to locate different areas for us to put boots on the ground and be able to, based on where they thought we should go and where we should look, and they are still open to go back up any place that we would like them to go.
So this is the helicopter. We also have 100 hours of drone flying through Lieutenant Priest. Our drone can go and segue through a field and make sure we don't see anything from there that we missed on the ground or vice versa. Over 100 hours of drone footage, including the chopper. And so we continue to walk. In fact, you'll see this area right here in Montrose. This is Marshall Road, and there's a small little Keewatin Road that we got a tip that maybe it's there. Lieutenant, explain what it looks like when you go there and you have deputies and sergeants, lieutenants that are in search gear and soft clothes walking these trails. Tell us about this.
So we actually went, there were about 13 of us detectives that went there. We did a grid search, so we get within visual distance of each other, and we would basically do a grid search one way and come back the other way until we completed a search of the entire area.
Now, we've gotten countless tips, so keep them coming. We've searched, as I said, over 500 acres. There are some sites that we're actively at right now. We're not going to disclose those because when the time is right, we may solicit volunteers. But again, the crime scene was initially from the Upper Peninsula down to Ohio. And we're going to explain why we've kind of tier 2'd the Ohio route of 75 and 23. And we did that based on our investigative research because of search warrants. So here's an example of the search warrants that this team has written with the assistance of APA Messer and David Layton, who is the prosecutor of this county. This is a search warrant for the loose address, Google records, Capital One credit cards, Cash App, Patriot Bank, he was a plasma donor, his body, the address up in Ogama, T-Mobile, Apple, his truck, Hyundai. The car that Kelly had is not only a search warrant for the car, but also the 2 information centers in that car, one of which is direct right to Hyundai itself. So you have to fill out all this paperwork in order to get the data, and here's how the data is given. Now, they don't teach this in Police Academy. Lieutenant Stadler, this is an example of data that was taken from a cell phone search warrant that gives us points. Now, for those that are coders, this is all DOS-based. It's ones and zeros, which is the baseline of all computer language. So you get something like this. How can we possibly interpret this kind of data that led us to searching some of these areas?
This is the first 200 pages of about 24,000 pages that came off of one of the search warrants that we did. And so we take all of this information and it gives us locations and GPS coordinates and all kinds of data, and we can dump that into software. And we take all of that information, and it will then be able to plot it into a map. And that's the only way that we are able to look at some of this and make it look very nice and very pretty, that we can follow it on a map.
So I want to point out, for the sake of those out there on an investigative algorithm, we get an idea that there may be some information on a particular device. We write the search warrant, we send it to the prosecutor's office to get approved. The judge swears it out with the investigator. We submit it to that organization. They process it through their legal. They approve it. Then it goes to get the data. Then the data is given to us. It goes to the investigator. The investigator has to learn how to interpret it. Listen to this. How long ago was it that you took the training in order to interpret that data?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And who gave us the training?
FBI.
So we have training with the FBI 2 years ago to help us interpret data now. Now we have the data points. Now we give it to Nicholson and his team to go try to figure out, is there any way that this body could have been there? Are there 2 tracks there? Is there drag patterns? And that's how we get to the maps that we are right now. So I think it's important to realize that all these things that we're doing, just that one example, how many hours did it take you to get that data?
6.
6. And that's one search warrant. I think it's important also to know, this is the bag of dirt that was taken from the scene up in Ogama, Prescott. Why did you take that dirt, and how long is it going to get to be processed on the dirt? It could be on the shovel.
So we took the dirt, honestly, and compared it to the dirt that's on the shovel. That way we can get a basis of whether we're looking in the right place. That's going to go on. I'm not sure what the timeline is to get it back, honestly.
Long.
Absolutely, it could be. It could be months, honestly, before we get an analysis done to the soil that would compare it to the shovel.
And so as an example, we have lab reports that are out there for 10 pieces of biological and electronic evidence, and they're still being processed. And we're doing that to try to get a global view of what DNA is there, whose is it. So you got to do not only testing samples of what we recover, but comparables. It takes a long time, and of course the lab's doing work across the state, and we have 10 pieces with another 10 ready to go and another 10 ready to go. Deputy Stacci, who runs the evidence recovery and storage, we are on it all the day, every day. As soon as we have a break, because what it does is it either takes us closer where we need to be, or it eliminates where we thought we might be. These are the search warrants. That's the dirt. This is crime scene search. These are the things that are happening. That cadaver dog that you saw in here from the state police. Here's a picture of this dog digging into that dirt to try to sense any kind of decomposition. That's what these dogs do. So our friends from the FBI, the state police, Ogama County Sheriff's Office, the local police, they're helping us. The data that we're talking about with Lieutenant Stadler, what do we do with it? How do we know that Ohio is now Tier 2? And you're going to see from these maps, when she explains it, why it's important to get data to map it out and determine, is there probable cause to believe that this person deviated off the path down 75 and up 23? And the answer to that is right now, no. Explain what we have here.
So every time we take all of this information, we put it into a map, and it's going to ping off of cell phone towers, and it's going to show where your location is, and it's going to give us all of this. So this is actually on the 13th, he's at home. He doesn't go anywhere, he doesn't do anything, he's just at home, chilling out, doing his thing on his phone.
So we know Kelly's last conversation with somebody was around 1 o'clock on Saturday the 14th. On the 14th, somewhere that afternoon till later that night, we know that Higgins drove her vehicle, that white Hyundai, down 75 to the address in Ohio and back up 23. How do we know that? And how do we know, or at least how do we believe he didn't stop other than that Big Daddy's truck stop? Check this out.
So we can look at all the data points, and he leaves from home, drives down to the house, 15th, leaves from the house, and comes right back home.
Now I noticed that some of these are spaced out, these are solid. Why is that?
It depends on where the cell towers are and what the location is, if he deviated off at all, or where the location of the cell tower is, if it's hitting off of a Wi-Fi signal or if it's hitting off of a cell tower.
So this is all intro to lead up to this. So we know based on that Higgins was driving back, whether he had Kelly in the trunk or not, we don't know that yet. But we do know when he came up that sometime at around 2 in the morning, clicking over to Monday. Now we didn't find out about this until Monday afternoon when she didn't report to work, and it was unusual. This area up in Montrose, Marshall Road and Lake Road, we were able to ping his phone, and we found that her phone was already off, but his gave a signal. There was a farmhouse that has nothing to do with it here. Our ping was in this area, but when we pulled up to here on Lake Road, it was an exact location, and we found his phone on that south side of the ditch, which has allowed us to know that sometime at 2 o'clock when that phone was pinged, that after that, it didn't move because he was gone. So we know that he can be accounted for up until, and this is key, because I've got 34 hours that we do not know where he was because he dumped his phone. On the other side of the ditch was her phone, already shut down, from 2 a.m. on Monday all the way until noon when he showed up at a female's house whose husband passed away, was friends with this guy at noon on Tuesday. We didn't know what he did for those 34 hours. He was there from noon to 9-ish when a friend called and said, you need to get him out of here. He's wanted for potential murder. He was again unaccounted for from the evening of the Tuesday until about 3 o'clock when our Saginaw County caller identified him, and then he killed himself at 4 in the morning. Why is it important, LT, to know those 2 time blocks for this briefing?
We can account for the time, for all the rest of the time. These are the times that he was most likely to have disposed of Kelly. Right? It's the time that he most likely buried her. And if we can figure that out, maybe it'll lead us to a potential location where we can find her.
That's why folks that are courageous enough to do this are so vital to our investigation, because all of us are praying that she was there to give her proper burial and respect and dignity. But I know if this is out here, and it came to us last week, that there's more out there. We also know that this is a time for not only bow hunting, but you have rifle season coming up. People know their route, they know their area, deer camps, anything that you see. And we've moved our search up from around the middle part of our county, Flushing, all the way up to Ogama. Is that your section of interest from this point until we get some more intel?
Based on everything we've seen from the return of the search warrants, absolutely. Somewhere in the Montrose to Ogama range. That's the only time that we can account for as of right now. So if we can dial that in with hopefully some help from anybody watching this, then maybe we got a good shot at finding her soon.
So a couple of the things, I'll open up the questions. We have what's called luminol here, and this is the solution we spray on surfaces to see if there's any body contaminants. So the reason we knew that she was assaulted in her house, and there was DNA in her vehicle and in the truck, is because of this type of science. And we want to thank Deputy Stacci, who oversees that, to make sure that we're doing it correct, that there's a chain of evidence that can be backed up. Once that solution is sprayed and the lights are killed, this light illuminates the area, and we can see whether there is blood or any kind of DNA that is a splash pattern, a splatter pattern, a cleaned up, mopped up pattern, and that's what allowed us to put those pieces together. The other thing I want to show you is this right here is just a map of where we are and what we're talking about. So Flushing City, right there on Luce Avenue, is where the incident occurred, and then he was identified and took his life right up here. But this right here is where his phone pinged. So we know that in a short amount of time, he was all right here, even after he went up to Prescott, Michigan. The other thing I want to show that's really important, if you would take that, please, is this is how intense the search is. So the county has geographical services that help us map out all sorts of things in the county. And so the DB asked them to grid out so we know for reference points what we searched, what we didn't, what tip came in. So if you'll notice, each one of these squares is a square mile. So if you look at like 6982, should that be something we did, that segment will be documented in our report. So when we go back, if we get a tip because this body of water is something we didn't search, we know what we did, what we didn't do, and that's the point of reference. That's how specific our documentation is and our search pattern is. And that's why it takes so much time. This tip, and I'll open up the question, is the key. The tip that said possible gravel site for Kelly McWhorter, dead end of Melker Road to North End, from Ryan Road to Prescott, west side, fresh dirt, 3x6, made by shovel perhaps, near this place, wheelbarrow. I mean, this is so specific that they were intentional, and that's that tip. And as I started this briefing, I'd love to take care of you. I'd love for this tip to be your invitation to help us do more and to put Kelly at rest and to give closure to this family. And that's where we are right now. I'll open up for questions that we can answer based on the information we have. Yes?
If you get a hold of this person who authored this tip, what are you going to ask them?
So the question is, what are we going to do when this person comes forward? Because I believe that a lot of it is just trust and confidence. The question that begs everybody is, how did you know this? And what is your relation to Higgins? I'm willing, and I have been in contact with the prosecutor's office, that even if this person reaches out to legal counsel and wants to come forward and wants to be protected, we will do that. I will surround them with protection, but the information is priceless. And so that's the first thing. How did you know this, and what's your relation to Higgins? And what did we miss? I mean, we're not perfect, but they're very good. And there's a reason why the letter was sent. But I tell you, that day was a disappointing no find.
Yes. Can you actually expand on that a little bit more? Yeah. How did you feel when, again, disappointed, but can you expand on that?
Well, I think it's important because Lieutenant Nicholson was there. And when we got the tip, we have a communication network within the Sheriff's Office that allows all of those that are interested parties in a particular incident to be made aware and briefed. And when that information was sent out, I think everybody was encouraged that we've got a really good lead. What was it like when you drove up there, you had your team, and then what happened when you realized that
it sounded like a really credible tip. We get there, right? And the dead end road actually comes right here. And then we park right near the area that's dug, so we don't have a search warrant yet, so we're looking from the road. It's really exciting to see the fresh dig area. You've got a wheelbarrow, all the stuff needed to dig that right there. So we actually had MSP cadaver dog respond, right, just to make sure. And after we obtained the search warrant, we went in and we started looking. The cadaver dog didn't hit on that spot. I mean, our heart sunk at that point. I mean, then we were absolutely hoping to find Kelly right here. Once that happened, we actually expanded the search. So there was about 80 acres total there that we searched with the dog. And unfortunately, it just didn't turn up.
And knowing that this person who wrote this tip might be hearing this right now, what would it mean to you, given all this disappointment, all this effort? You thought you were this close to getting her. What would it mean to finally bring her home?
You know, it would be amazing. That's what everybody wants. We want to bring closure to the family with this, and that's the whole point of everything we're doing here. And she deserves that. She deserves to have a proper burial where the family members can say goodbye. So,
you know, as an analogy that I used to your point, imagine this being a 10,000 piece puzzle, but you only have 6,000 pieces. And you're trying to come up with some type of image, but those pieces are held by people that you cannot control, and some you'll never get. And so to have anybody come forward with a piece of information could be just the piece that makes this image clear. And all of us have done puzzles where it only takes one piece to make it sense. And that's what we're asking right now. If we have to do this 10 more times, we're going to do it with the same enthusiasm, the same professionalism. If our heart sinks 9 times, when we find her on the 10th, it's worth it. All right.
Any chance at all, call me crazy, but any chance at all that Higgins may have wrote that before he took his own life, that tip?
It's not a crazy question at all. The question is, could Higgins have written that before? This has already been sent to, this is prepared to go to the lab. That's why it's right here. We're checking fingerprints, DNA. So I can't say either way. We take, to get that confirmed, we have to do handwriting exemplars, which ironically is the oldest type of evidence in world history is handwriting analysis. We haven't gotten there yet because it's not a priority to find out the author that way. There's a faster way to do it, and that is using our media friends. I need you to get that message out there before we can confirm that he wrote it or not. Anything else, Lieutenant?
No, sir.
We will probably not do another briefing until next week. Until then, if we come up with something that we hope to, as you know, we will call you and let you know. But to the family out there, to the friends of Kelly, rest assured this team and the assets of this office, as I promised from day one, are not withdrawn, held back. It's whatever it takes to put closure to this case. This is our top priority. Among all the other things this office is doing, this is where we stand, and we won't quit. Thank you for coming.
Also in the city of Flint, lawsuits flying. Eric Mays is suing the city council again. They keep throwing him out of meetings. He keeps filing lawsuits. And another lawsuit filed by community activist Art Woodson with a couple of pro-gun organizations, if you will. I mentioned this to some folks, and right away the comment was Art Woodson's a convicted felon. He can't have a gun, so he might not have standing. So I don't know. We'll try to get to the bottom of that, but it has to do with the metal detectors at Flint City Hall installed by Sheldon Neely. And there were death threats against, allegedly, Liddell Lewis. I found out that there was a captain texting officers at one meeting when she wasn't there, trying to get the officers to go pick her up at her house and take her to City Hall because she was scared to go by herself. Nobody picked her up. They ignored the police chief's text to all the officers on duty. The following meeting, Sheldon Neely sent a police car to pick her up. The most dangerous city in America. We got 4 or 5 police officers standing around City Hall with a gun metal detector, make sure guns don't go in, except they can't stop them. Now, to stop them, Sheldon Neely, pretty slick, he decided to make blank court in that building, which means it's a court and they can have security, they can keep guns out and be a gun-free zone. I'm not against that idea, to be honest with you, because we've had enough mass shootings, so I'll give him a pass on that. But the way he went about it was kind of slick. Art Woodson, I think you're correct that they can't carry guns, can't stop people from carrying guns in a public building. But if it's a court, they can. And I think Sheldon Neely, he's going to win this lawsuit. I read your lawsuit. I guess you'd go for it. I think a lot of folks have said you don't have standing because you're a convicted felon. If that's the case, that case is going to be dismissed. Maybe it'll go forward with the pro-gun organizations that are on that lawsuit with him. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. We'll see what happens. The bigger story here is, why isn't that story big news? Community activist Art Woodson, he kind of gets shut out from the mainstream news around here. They don't report what he does very often. And I think he gets more media attention from Detroit than he does from our Flint media. Stay tuned a little later in the show. I'm gonna make a public apology to Art Woodson on the Sheldon Neely factor. You know, I endorsed Sheldon Neely every time he ran. I was inspired to hopefully he was going to do well. And it's hard to admit when you're wrong. Art Woodson supported him, and he admitted he was wrong. And he's been in the guy's worst nightmare. We'll get into that a little later. Something that you've read nowhere else in the local media. You've heard it nowhere else in the local media. David Layton, the Free Press has been poking around. They filed a FOIA regarding a guy, a union official, who has allegations of raping someone. Now, they redacted information in it. My question is, township attorneys, how do you, I guess the township attorney had another firm rule on this because they gave money to David Layton. A little fishy to me. Watch the Free Press. There's something big coming, is my understanding. We'd like to ask David Layton about it. Maybe he'll sit down and answer that, along with answering some questions about the Carmack case, which has cost taxpayers a whole lot of money. We have a lot of dangerous criminals. And, you know, David Layton, I've been supportive of getting more prosecutors for you to get things done in Genesee County, to fight crime. I don't like going after this guy who has donated thousands to charity. He's a good guy, a business owner, and he's been targeted by the mayor of Detroit. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's deep into the corruption of Detroit, no doubt about it. Around the state, former warrant officer, police officer, indicted on civil rights crimes for punching a black man. Over in Port Huron, one guy dead in a bar fight. A suburban Detroit mayor indicted last week, a federal bribery charge. He allegedly demanded $50,000 in bribes to facilitate the sale of city property to an outside party. The Inkster mayor, Patrick Wimberly, allegedly accepted all these bribes between September of 2022 through this past April, according to the indictment unsealed last week. 3 city councilmen in Detroit. World News: Hamas says Israel strikes on a refugee camp there, killed more than 195 people. So the conflict continues. A sad situation over there right now. Big news last week in the city of Flint. Flint City Council, they had a special meeting Thursday night to approve a garbage contract. They want to give them, I guess, 10 more years, as I understand it. This was a garbage contract that, you know, the high bidder was $9 million higher than the low bidder. I can't figure that one out. You know, they had investigative hearings and a lot of stuff that I thought the FBI might step in, but they didn't. I don't know why. Can't figure it out. We'll get a little bit later into that subject. But last week, to give you the both sides of it. I'm going to read a clip from Eva Worthing, a city councilwoman. Let me get my glasses on. I'll read you the clip that she posted on Facebook on Saturday. Dennis Pfeiffer calling me a liar about the trash contract with Priority Waste when he, in fact, is the one spewing the lies. He broke quorum so the rest of us could not vote to approve it. Residents' trash rates will go up if we do not pass this resolution this month. Not only that, but we will lose over $2 million in grant money given to the city for garbage pickup. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we will miss out on if this council does not get it together. The man in the audience that I'm videoing was calling me a liar, so I started filming during the meeting. The man is Beverly Biggs Levy's grandson and hired by Eric Mays to film for him. He has purposely intimidated Liddell Lewis and I and spewed disgusting, bigoted language toward Quincy Murphy. This type of behavior is encouraged by Eric Mays, Jerry Winfrey Carter, Tanya Burns, and Dennis Pfeiffer. They have been holding up millions of dollars in ARPA funds for residents for over a half a year now. Flint deserves a council that will work for the residents, not their own personal agenda. We need residents to come to meetings and let council members know they do not support the dysfunction that these four members purposely create. And that's a statement from Eva Worthing. You know, she had a comment a couple weeks back. I even wrote her a little note that she hit it right on the head. You know, and I had to apologize that of the 8 out of 9 council members I endorsed, she wasn't the one. I endorsed the write-in against her, and yet she had the voice of reason about, hey, knock off. It's like a bunch of middle school girls fighting here every week. Let's get the city's business done. I agree with that. I don't agree with much that Eva Worthing says, and I think she's a problem in the city. But, hey, you can vote for what you want to vote for. I respect everybody's opinions. And with that being said, I want to cut to a clip that Eva Worthing posted, and it does have Dennis Pfeiffer's comments about the garbage contract. Here it is.
That's just political rhetoric and lies, because $1 million a year shortfall in the rubbish fund, those ain't my numbers, those are the CFO numbers. So they want to spew these lies out and try to bamboozle the public and think that this is a good deal. And like I said, Priority Waste are doing a great job. I have no complaints with them. My issue is there's no plan and no sustainable way to fund this contract. I've said it so many meetings, and the lies are still spewed out that this is the best deal ever. So I will not be voting to approve this, and I will be voting.
Another noteworthy story last week that you might have missed, Warren Buffett, you know, the head honcho at Berkshire Hathaway. He owns just millions of things. He's worth billions of dollars. He reported he lost $12.8 billion last quarter. And he still got, I think, $351 billion just in Berkshire Hathaway. That's not his personal fortune. That's the Berkshire Hathaway fortune, if you will. Republicans in the House getting ready to ask questions. They've sent out subpoenas. They want Joe Biden's brother under oath, as well as Hunter Biden. And of course, the big news also last week, the Bob Alinsky character, the guy that had testimony, the former business partner of Joe Biden's son, he's been accused of lying to authorities. And he says it's Joe Biden weaponizing the Justice Department against him. Stay tuned. This is going to be an eventful week on the Capitol as Republicans try to get to the bottom of what's going on with the Hunter Biden scandal and these millions of dollars that have made their way from other countries to Biden family members to their accounts. And they're getting rich off what Hunter Biden has arranged So it seems. But Democrats, they want to see the proof. I've seen a lot of proof. I don't understand why Joe Biden's whole family hasn't been held accountable yet. And on that note, the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, who was on Joe Biden's reelection committee and kicked off when he stated that the border crisis is ruining New York City. And as soon as he did that, Joe Biden said, "You're not on my election committee anymore." Well, he's also now contending that Joe Biden's administration is using the Justice Department to weaponize against him as well. They raided his house. The FBI raided his house. Corruption scandal, they say, in New York City. So stay tuned. It's not going away anytime soon. And on the immigration subject, I've got to cut to a clip that you probably didn't see last week. This was on TikTok. Several people sent it to me. It's the new Speaker of the House addressing the immigration issue and questioning the Democratic leader, Mr. Nadler. Here it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's late. It's almost 10 o'clock. I don't know. I think we've been at this for about 10 hours, and it's been a long day. We had a 22-vote series. Not complaining, just explaining why we're all a little bit haggard. But I tell you what, it's the issue that's really got us worn out. And I just genuinely wanted to ask a question of my colleagues here, because both of you are here in good faith, and I respect you as individuals. And I want to ask you a question, what my constituents asked me. Could the Democrats in charge, and certainly Democrats here with jurisdiction over the border, could they really be in favor of an open border? And I'm asking you honestly and in good faith. Can I ask, Mr. Chairman, you're from New York. Thanks to New York City's council, beginning January 9th, 2023, more than 800,000 non-citizens will be eligible to vote in municipal elections in New York. Do you agree with that policy?
No, non-citizens will not be eligible to vote in New York. They never have been. Well, they were in the 19th century eligible to vote in New York.
Well, no, this is a recent action. It was just passed in December.
No, that is not correct. Non-citizens have not been eligible to vote in New York, or as far as I know, in any other state since the 19th century.
That's not true. The New York City Council voted in December to allow this. It begins January 9, 2023. Cities in Vermont and Maryland already allow this, and similar measures are under consideration in Illinois, Maine, and Massachusetts right now.
If the gentleman will yield?
Yes.
I believe those are considerations of allowing votes in municipal elections only.
Right, but thank you. That's the point. Everybody wants to know at home, why would they allow this? Guys, they're allowing it because they're going to turn them into voters. They already are doing this in New York City, largest city in America, and this is the plan of our friends on this side to turn all the illegals into voters. That's it, folks. That's what's going on. That's the game. That's why the border's open. That's why they've dropped it. Look, I respect Ms. Lofgren and all her work in this arena. Yes, I'll yield, Mr. Chairman. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this.
As a New Yorker, I would love to think that New York is the entire country, but it is not. It is not, and consideration is being given to permitting non-citizens to vote in New York, and I believe in the capital city of Vermont. I forget which that is. But as much as I'd like to believe it, New York and Vermont are not the entire country.
But, Mr. Chairman, that's the whole point. This is what's going on, folks, at home. If you're trying to figure this out, if you're scratching your heads, you're seeing the video, you see droves of people, 2.4 million people coming over the border illegally, the president allowing, the Democrats in charge of Congress are allowing it. The deal is they're going to turn them into voters. You just heard it. They don't have any problem with that. They celebrate it. Here's the deal. We have a problem with it. The Constitution has a problem with it. American elections should be decided by American citizens. That's it. That's what this is about. That's why we're jumping up and down and screaming, my friends on the video who are commenting about this. That's why we're so upset, because our constituents are frightened that we are losing our country. We're losing our security, we're losing our sovereignty, because we're going to allow people from 160 different countries around the world to come in here and decide our elections. That's it. Here it is on record. You all heard it. I'm out of time. I yield back.
Chris Christie in Florida booed when he got on a GOP platform there. Some Republicans having a hard time in Florida Chris Christie, he told the crowd, let me get my notes here. He says that they fear the truth. That's what Chris Christie said to him about all the booze. And I'll pull out his quote here. Here's Chris Christie addressing the crowd.
Yep. Look, what a shock you're for Trump. I'm going to fall over dead. Now look, every one of those boos, every one of those catcalls, every one of those yells will not keep it, yes, sure, will not solve one problem we face in this country, will not solve, and will not make this country better. Your anger against the truth is reprehensible.
And on the Donald Trump news trail, a slew of civil and criminal indictments across the country that he's facing. The guy doesn't have time to campaign. He's got to go to court practically every day. But in the Trump lie detector test, we have another whopper. He said last week that there was a slew of blackouts across California last summer. That didn't happen. Where does he come up with this stuff? He keeps creating problems for himself just with dumb comments. This guy needs somebody reading anything he says before he says it. He just keeps putting his foot in his mouth. It gets worse every time he takes the stage. And yet, like you see in Florida, the Republicans, he's their front runner, and right now it looks like he's going to be serving as president, possibly from a prison cell. And in sports world highlights this past week, Detroit Lions, of course, on Monday, winning big to get back on the winning track after that loss. Lions in first place. They don't play today. Other big news during the week, the Texas Rangers wrapping up a World Series championship, beating the Arizona Diamondbacks 4 out of 5 games. Now it's football on Saturday. The Michigan Wolverines rolling over Purdue, crushing them 41-14. The Wolverines now 9-0, looking to play Penn State this week. Michigan State got back on the winning track. They lost 6 out of 8 before yesterday when they managed to beat Nebraska in a close one. Also on Saturday, the Breeders' Cup Classic out in California this year. That's the big horse racing event for horses all around the world. 2 days of big events. The Classic, the big race, won by White Abreu. The trainer, Rick Dutrow, who had been suspended for 10 years for drugging horses. He's a guy, if you remember, if you're a horse racing fan, he got caught with the drugs in syringes all around his barn. 10-year suspension. He returned in style by winning the $6 million race on Saturday. The other big storyline of Breeders' Cup this weekend, Cody's Wish winning, and that was the horse dedicated or named for the young boy who had, he's supposed to be dead by now. He's disabled, and that horse has a special relationship with that kid. He lights up every time he's around, and just a great story. Closer to home, high school football playoffs Friday night. A lot of winners around the area. Frankenmuth pounded arch rival Birch Run 65-10 to move on in Division 5. Frankenmuth, they're 10-1 since losing on opening day to Goodrich. Goodrich also moving on. Matter of fact, the M15 corridor, not only Goodrich winning, but Clarkston, the Wolves winning, Clarkston, Everett Collegiate winning, Davison winning, and Millington winning. Millington and Davison both going to 11-0 on the season. Millington plays a local team, Montrose. Davison, which has occupied the number 1 spot for most of the season, they They had a close one in the regular season finale against Lapeer. It was like a 56-55 game. They came back and put up 75 points the next week in the playoffs. They won over Grand Blanc Friday night. They move on to play Rockford, which is ranked number 3 in the state. Of course, with Clarkston knocking off number 2 Lake Orion. Number 1 Belleville is all that remains ahead of Davidson in the rankings. Still alive. Belleville moving on Friday as well. And Clarkston Collegiate and Clarkston Everett Collegiate, they won 19-14 over Marine City Cardinal Mooney in their game to move on as well. And that's a look at all the news and sports around the area, around the state, and around the nation, and around the world. You're listening to the morning. And there you have it, a rundown of all the news and sports around the area, around the state, around the nation, around the world from the Weekend Gazette. I'm Mike Kilbreth. We're going to take a little time out here for some commercial messages, and we'll be back with more here on the Weekend Gazette.
Hang on, another morning jolt is coming after Mike takes his blood pressure meds.
You are listening to Metro Flint News Talk Radio, an affiliate of Crusader Community.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right?
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This public service announcement sponsored by Country Home Creations. This public service announcement was sponsored by E-Today. This public service announcement was sponsored by the Flint Area Chamber of Commerce.
What's the best decision you can make for your business?
Your membership in the Flint Area Chamber of Commerce is the best investment that your small business can make.
Hi, I'm Ryan Ishu with RE/MAX Real Estate Team, and Flint's future is looking so bright, I have to wear shades.
Visit us online, flintareachamber.org.
Your membership helps us develop a strong, united voice for the business community.
Building a better Flint and Genesee County.
Discoveries. They happen when we least expect them, in places we thought we knew. And discoveries have a way of teaching us a little more about ourselves along the way. Welcome to Flint and Genesee County, where up north meets down south. Home to Michigan's largest county park system and a vibrant culture. A place filled with discoveries we've yet to make, throughout acres of beautiful lakes, wetlands, and woods, and in the diverse city beyond. Where the uplifting melodies of gospel choirs fill the air. Where the work of renowned artists color the galleries and museums. Where the fresh fruits and vegetables at the downtown farmers market awaken our senses. And where the cultural center and planetarium broaden our view of the world. Let's spend a few days enjoying the wonders of Flint and Genesee County, where the joy of discovery is pure Michigan. Your trip begins at Michigan.org.
And we're back here on the Weekend Gazette. I am Mike Kilbreth, and in this segment, we're going to expose a little pay-to-play incentive that the mayor of Flint gave to a guy trying to get his hands on the city golf courses, 2 golf courses he's trying to preserve. And he had a press conference earlier in the week. We're going to snap first to this press conference with John Carpenter. Here he was Monday, meeting with the media, upset over all the struggles he's had trying to get the golf courses just to get them out to bid. He started way back last November. The city council, to review the story for you, they voted initially, they were prepared to vote to approve it with a voice vote in a group of a whole bunch of resolutions. And they said all in favor. And Dennis Pfeiffer, we want to credit him for asking, what's going on with these golf courses? Well, how much are we getting? And went back to Finance Committee. The Finance Committee, Dennis Pfeiffer made a motion to put it out for bid. And the city council, after hearing from some employees at the course and the course operator, they decided, nope, we're going to send it back to the city council. They voted 8-0 to approve it as the mayor had written it up. When it went back before council, yours truly got involved. I did a little consulting for John Carpenter and helped him put together a group of his friends as partners to forever preserve the two city golf courses, the two remaining public golf courses, Kersey Lake Golf Course and Swartz Creek Golf Course. They have 75-year traditions or longer. I'm not sure how long, but the home of the Flint Junior Golf Association, which became back in the late 70s and 80s, the largest youth golf association in the United States. My old bosses at the Flint Journal, Doug Mitline and Dean Howe, were key players in making that happen, and something I'm proud of. I'll tell you, seniors, they can no longer play at Pierce Park because the city closed it down. Mont Park, it was closed down. By the way, Sheldon Neely was in charge of that nonprofit, if you can remember. Originally, 10 years later, the course operator who was doing it for $15,000 a year. That's what the emergency manager made as a deal with the two guys that took it over. Now, I guess 10 years later, these courses look pretty shabby. Now, John Carpenter, he was the right-hand man of Don Williamson during his administration as mayor of Flint. He was in charge of inspections, and he told us that both buildings should be condemned. There's asbestos, there's filth. I mean, it's just terrible. And he gave a horrible rundown of what the courses look like after he spent some time talking to employees and assuring them their jobs are safe, and he'll give them a raise because they shouldn't work as cheap as they're working for. And I think Mr. Carpenter is sincere about what he's trying to do. Is it an opportunity to make money? I think that's why he got some partners involved, because John Carpenter is the guy that saved Sugar Bush out in Davison from bankruptcy a number of years ago. He stepped in for the Don Williamson. He was about ready to bankrupt that course. As John Carpenter tells the story, it was dandelions on the green and no customers. He turned it into a multi-million-dollar facility. He says Swartz Creek and Kersey Lake golf courses are better when he's starting than Sugar Bush was. So he wants to save them for future generations. And he tried to get his hands on documents. He was stonewalled, as he says, at every turn. It went on for months. John Carpenter got angry about June, and he went to the city council, and there was an announcement made that, the guy behind the counter at Swartz Creek, now he's probably an employee, so I'm going to say that's not allegations that law enforcement can act on. He said that the guy said someone visited with their kid, and we have a recording of that incident where the gentleman, he says, hey, are you the new owners? I saw on TV where you're going to have new owners. And he said, no, we've had a little problem with the city council, but we have the mayor in our back pocket. Now that sounded bad. Councilman Murphy sent it out for a referral to find out why have these courses not gone out for bid. We put them out for bid last January. This was June. Well, it continued on until about a month ago, and John Carpenter had enough. The courses were winding down the season, which means you have to get ready for next season to have these courses be profitable and be in shape. And Mr. Carpenter, he wanted to send out a press release to everybody, FBI, Attorney General, and he did it as a letter to the mayor. And he wanted me to send copies from my ad agency to the FBI, the Attorney General, members of Congress, you name it. John Carpenter wanted it to go all over. And then that was a Friday, 11:15. By Monday morning, the website, presto, at long last, after a year, they put it out for public bid. And when Mr. Carpenter showed up at the pre-bid conference, well, let's cut to the press conference first, and then we'll come back. We're going to share a phone call that the mayor of Flint made to John Carpenter, nudging him to do a little pay to play. So let's cut to the press conference. I have a little clip here that my guy John captured for us on video. And this is John Carpenter talking to the media at the press conference earlier in the week. Mr. Carpenter loves to golf. Can I say how old you are? I can't say how old he is. But Mr. Carpenter,
no better, too young to resist.
Mr. Carpenter plays golf every day. When it gets cold here, he goes to Florida. I think tomorrow he's leaving because it's too cold for him. And we were talking one night. A gentleman called and told me, "Did you see the city council meeting?" Like, are you kidding me? How could I see it? I'm retired, man. I ain't watching that crap. Well, the city golf courses, they said resolution 7432, resolution 743, and they named 20 resolutions. All in favor, say aye. Everyone says aye. And one councilman, I want to credit him, Dennis Pfeiffer. He said, wait a minute, what are we voting on? And Eric Mays, in typical Eric Mays fashion, says, well, the city gets $15,000 a year to give away 2 golf courses. One's got a restaurant bar in it, and we don't know how much the mayor gets in a bag of money on his prize. And I'm going to tell you what, I don't think people take bribes in government. You guys might be a great guy. I don't know. Maybe he's not guilty of anything. But that was last November. By January, they sent it back to the Finance Committee. Dennis Pfeiffer made a motion, put that out for bid, because we probably can get a lot of money for that. And the city council, the other guy showed up with some of his employees. They all spoke how great he was. And the city council voted 8-0 to send it back to city council to be approved as the mayor put it together. I talked to a few people who said, use your 2 minutes and mention the FBI 5 times. And I did. All the TV cameras, 5, 12, and 25, all reported it at 11 o'clock news. And they reversed and voted 9-0 to put it out for bid. I called Mr. Carpenter and said, okay, you got your golf course. And I was proud of myself. My first job, trying to make sure I get him a golf course bid, we got it. That was last January. 2 weeks ago, against my wishes, John decided to get nasty. And he wrote a press release that maybe some of you got that said, basically, I want the golf courses. And you told me you put it out for bid back in January. I'm still waiting. And that was 11:15 on a Friday night. He gave it to me at 7. My ad agency was supposed to send it out for him. I thought, man, I want this on the 11 o'clock news. Maybe the mayor will see it and he'll put it out for bid on Monday morning. And he did. Before City Hall opened, it was on the website. So if any of you called asking about John Carpenter's press release, he could honestly say, oh, that was put out for bid. Look at the website. He didn't tell you it was put out at 8 a.m. on October 2nd, that Monday. Now, we got the bid package. It was the most complicated bid package I've ever seen. And being in the advertising business for years, I've helped a lot of customers get bank loans and get grants so they can get money so they can advertise more with my newspapers. I've never seen a bid like that. It was about 500 pages. It conflicted with itself in about every one. Mr. Carpenter, he humored them. He answered all the questions. And at some point, he got mad, and I thought he was joking at first. The bid was $15,000 a year for the last 10 years. Mr. Carpenter, for some history, he was the president and CEO of Don Williamson's Bedliner division that went national. And when he came there, like 14th, he took him to #1 in the nation. When he went to Sugar Bush, there were dandelions on the greens, and the place was near bankruptcy. Matter of fact, the Don said, I got bankrupted. John went out, and in the first season, the first thing he did, They went and hired the greenskeeper at Warwick Hills, and would you do double his money? And he gets the nicest course in Genesee County, and he turned it into a multi-million-dollar facility quickly. The same thing can be done, according to Mr. Carpenter, with Kersey Lake Golf Course and Swartz Creek Golf Course, especially Swartz Creek with a 6-minute drive from the airport. There are so many things that can do for this community's economy. I'm a numbers guy. When you bring a bunch of people to town, you fill the hotels, you sell a lot of gas, you sell food. Mr. Carpenter has lots of great ideas like that. And this bid seems to be stacked against him. And I even went and talked to the gentleman who has the bid to say, man, you don't want this guy as an enemy. He really wants these golf courses. Why don't you guys work together? You know, he didn't want to work together. I guess he's pretty confident he's getting the bid. Well, this morning he posted his bid. What was it, 25,000? 25,000 was his bid. Mr. Carpenter, because it was $1,100,000, let me back up. It was 15,000. He bid $1,015,000 and threw an extra $100,000 on to fix up the buildings that he was in charge of the Williams administration for inspections, things like that. He assures me both buildings should be condemned today. Now, the guy who has the lease, he's a slumlord, the city's a slumlord. Why are we allowing these things? Nobody cares. Mr. Carpenter cares. I hope he gets some attention by bidding $1 million higher than their bid. I don't know why he would do that, but he likes to golf. He told me way back in January, before I got the 9-0 vote, can you find me a trailer? I said, a trailer for what? When I get back, I want a trailer so I can live on the course and take care of them. Sounds pretty committed to me. That's when I went into high gear to help him. Now, Mr. Carpenter, I'm going to turn it over to you to explain why you would bid $1 million more and your feelings about these golf courses.
Okay, Mike, I'm here on Mike's invitation, and sort of like a duck out of water. I'm not accustomed to being the winning bidder with the highest bid without going too high. I'm typically in a position where I'm looking for the lowest bidder without going too low. So this has been unusual, but we had the bid opening this morning, and my company is substantially higher than the next lowest bidder. I think there were 3 there. One was at $25,000 season for the whole season, 2 golf courses, you understand. The other one was at $45,000. Mine was at $75,000 plus another $100,000 net the city over the term of the lease, anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. So with that, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty confident. I have a little bit of reservation, and I understand Mike's looking into some issues for me because I've been contacted.
I'm going to stop him right now because I don't need to say too much yet until the attorneys go through everything. But let's just say we've uncovered some obvious corruption, some, we'll say, bribe allegations, we'll call them at the moment, but we have recordings. And we'll be releasing them on my first TV show on Sunday. I'm not sure, I might do it as a YouTube show. We haven't made that decision. We won't until Friday. But, you know, I'm a guy who likes commercials. People say, Mike, you got too many commercials on your show. Mike, too many ads in your newspapers. That's a bad problem to have, guys.
Okay. How many people you believe have committed a crime, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, in relation to how this has been handled? And I'm asking you, Mike, since you're the one making the allegations.
I'm looking at John.
How many? Well, there are 3 that I know.
So 3 public officials, whether they're elected or not, they're public officials?
2 public officials outside.
So you have evidence of a crime. Have you approached the county prosecutor, state prosecutor, or federal prosecutors with this evidence?
This gentleman tried to get me a meeting with the FBI in Detroit. I have another guy who the FBI is supposed to take my call today here in Flint. Hasn't returned the call yet, and we'll find out. We've got everything ready for them. We've sent it to the right places. The one tape I have is very damaging, and it's the second one too, yeah. And the other one maybe not. The other one I don't consider evidence. Maybe John does, but and I'm on record at the city council saying that, you know, I recorded a guy who said that he went to the golf courses. He said, "Hey, are you the new owners?" And they said, "No." He said, "Well, I saw on TV that the new owners here." And the course guy, now John says that's the course, but I would say from a law enforcement standpoint, they're going to say he's the guy behind the counter. He's not the owner. And he said, "We have the mayor in our back pocket." That's not, to me, credible, Steve, to answer your question. So if he's counting those two, I really wouldn't count them, because you're not going to get a conviction with that. Because the owner's going to say, "I can't control what the guy says. He's paying $12 an hour or $10 an hour. I don't." So I wouldn't call that credible evidence. Does it sound bad? Yeah.
Mr. Carpenter, I have one for you. How far are you willing to go to fight for these golf courses? If it comes back and you unfortunately don't win the bid, how far are you willing to go to challenge that?
Can I ask a question? How can he not win the bid if he bid $1 million out of them?
Somebody may have bid $2 million. You never knowing.
The bids are in. They bid $25,000, $42,500. The other two didn't submit bids, and I think the guy that's there now did $25,000.
Okay.
So he's $1 million ahead of them.
This is Flynn. Anything can happen.
100%.
We open up the bids today. When does this come up, I guess, for review by the city council?
If you can get that answer, I think Mr. Carpenter'd like to know. He's got 19 community leaders as his partners, and I think that they're going to have a hard time not giving him the golf courses after his bid.
Okay. You're not going to tell us who's taking bribes, because you're saving that for your show.
That's correct.
Okay. Can you tell us what office that person holds?
No comment yet. Guess all you want.
Okay. Well, I can't.
And what made John Carpenter a man of principle very angry was the fact 20 minutes after the pre-bid conference, there were 5 of us at lunch with him. John Carpenter looked like he had seen a ghost. He answered the phone, and it was Sheldon Neely, Mayor of Flint. Now, he's not supposed to be calling someone on a sealed bid situation. It's highly irregular. Mr. Carpenter knows that because he served 6 years in the Williamson administration as, like I said earlier, the right-hand man of Don Williamson. And he made it clear that Mr. Carpenter hasn't been contributing to his campaign.
What's going on, big time?
Hey, I'm sorry about the phone tag, but I was sitting real tight with 3 other people, and I didn't know what you wanted to discuss, the topic of conversation. So that's why I asked to call back. But I'm out of there now.
Yeah, well, the thing was, you haven't contacted your friend in about 4 or 5 years or so. You didn't, you ain't been, we have to take you off the Christmas card list. You haven't been keeping in contact.
The Christmas card list? That's the guys that contribute money to Sheldon Neely. He's got huge war chest. Some are saying he might run for Dan Kildee's seat in Congress. Some are saying he wants to be mayor of Flint a while longer. Sheldon Neely has a slew of problems already, all kinds of allegations of bribes. And I don't know if he's taken bribes, but hearing this phone call, obviously wanting some pay to play, as you say, these are the problems businessmen face all over. And you can hear with your own ears how this situation came about, because John Carpenter looked around, he goes, "Can anybody help me tape record him? Because he's about to ask for money." I thought, okay. I set up a recorder for him. He went across the street where it was quiet. I told him, you push the button there and you're recording. And Sheldon Neely made it clear, you need to give me some $100 bills. Listen to the tape.
Okay. Well,
I'll send you an invite to my next event, John, so you can get back in the fold, so you can tell, because I remember you used to have always kept a little folded up tightly $100 bill all the time.
Oh, you remember that? It was behind my driver's license.
Okay, yes, that's right. Well, you keep two, that's all right. I don't have that luxury in my wallet.
That's not all. I've talked to Tom Pabst, a very prominent attorney, and shared everything going on. The fact that Sheldon Neely said some very nasty things about yours truly. And well, listen to the tape. Here's what he told John Carpenter about his mistakes trying to get this bid. First, before he gets to me, he rips on radio show host AC Dumas, who was there covering the pre-bid conference. And then he moves on to ripping members of council, most notably Dennis Pfeiffer, who without Dennis Pfeiffer, this thing would have been approved at $15,000 a year. Mr. Carpenter bid over $1 million. And he threw $100,000 on top of it to fix the clubhouse at Kersey Lake. It needs a roof. And they need a boiler at Swartz Creek where the restaurant doesn't have any heat. So that's the bid that the city taxpayers got because of Dennis Pfeiffer. And the mayor's ripping on him. He's standing in the way of progress. Yeah. Sounds to me like Dennis Pfeiffer got the city taxpayers a whole lot of extra money because this event, this bid, it was this close to being approved. I think they actually said, all in favor say aye, and they all started saying aye. And Dennis Pfeiffer saying, wait a minute. What's this golf course lease? That's how this whole thing started a year ago. And they're just now putting out the bid. And by the way, I shared with the FBI this tape, and I shared with the FBI at Mr. Carpenter's urging. Some folks wanted Mr. Carpenter to wire himself for the FBI and go get a bribe from Sheldon. And Mr. Carpenter's 85 years old. He just wants his golf courses. He wants to run them and save them for future generations. He wants to make them look beautiful, something great in the city of Flint. What's wrong with that? Politics? Well, he didn't want politics to get in the way, but he was shocked by Sheldon Neely making it clear, you got to start contributing to my campaign. That's basically what he said in this tape.
So what's going on? You called me, man. I just went to city council trying to, the people in my back pocket are called the citizens of the city of Flint. This sweetheart deal of managing the golf courses came to me, not by publication, came to me through a couple of people that I still know on the city council, Dennis Pfeiffer being one of them. But I know several there, and they came to me when they through a business partner of mine, Mike Kilbreth. He came to me and said, "Did you know that they were considering extending this lease for $15,000 a year or something on 2 golf courses?" I go, "What?" You tell them I'll pay 5 times that. And
the thing of it is, that's why I was calling. I knew you were around, and that's why I called you. I said, because you and I got a great level of respect for one another, but you're dealing with some toxic pieces there. And those pieces have not been well for the city of Flint. I mean, and the pieces I'm talking about is like a Dumas or a Kilbreth. They've been problematic for a lot of different things, and so they've been not good pieces. And so, but I have a lot of respect for you. So those pieces doesn't help your positioning out with this administration whatsoever. I mean, because they've just been problematic and anti-administration. You sat in administrative offices where people were antagonistic or just anti-Don, irrespective of what deal it is, right? So.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, I've been trying to keep politics out of this. I don't know if you can do it in dealing with government or not, but I've been trying to keep politics out of it. And so I said, well, I'll put my hat in the ring with the citizens of Flint as my backup. They should receive more money than they're receiving from this guy who's here now. I know how many rounds of golf there is, and I tried to get information on it, and stonewalled at every turn. So that was the reason for the meeting today.
irrespective of what the deal is for the golf, definitely the citizens deserve to get their fair share of what it takes for public access to different things. But that should be true of every occasion. And so for the person that you described on city council, take a look at their voting history along those lines, right? If it's about getting more money for the residents of the city of Flint, especially when it's beneficial deals, take a look at their voting record. Right now, we have a $4 million grant from the state of Michigan to help with our recyclables and our garbage collection, right?
Yeah.
We give every resident a 96-gallon container for the recyclables and for their waste, free of charge, and extend our contract out with our waste provider to have no increase for residents until 2028. And I have the person that you described as your contact on council.
Well, it's not my contact necessarily, but I do know him, and he's the one who gave me the heads up on this deal with the golf courses.
I know, but what I'm just telling you is that they can say it for saying that we're missing out on money on one hand, but you can't do reverse course. It says, oh well, something else is going on because and I respect the guy. I don't have any problems, but I definitely have a problem with the way that they interpret different things, especially when I'm giving it to them, about how we can save residents. Even selling the old Buick City site for $300 million, you ought to ask them how they voted on that.
Oh, right? Okay. But when they tried to get this existing agreement renewed is when they brought it to my attention. I go, what? I took Sugar Bush from dandelions on the green to a multi-million-dollar operation, hands-on for a number of years, and then with the Don, God rest his soul, with the Don, for many years after that, hardly a decision was made out there that he didn't call me on the phone or have me come and see if what they were asking him from remodeling the bar to increasing the size of the inventory in the pro shop. He wouldn't do it unless I agreed that was a good idea. And so anyway, I'm giving you too much information on my background. I'm able to handle this agreement that's here now. But the guy who's there now, you may know it, you may not. You can't know about every contract and everything. This guy is in violation of his existing contract. Shouldn't even be in the same room trying to get it renewed. Let alone pay more money. He's not fulfilling the contract the way I got a copy of it finally, after a lot of arm twisting and threatening and FOIA and everything else to even get a copy of it. He's not doing that now. This guy has the city in a liability position, just waiting for the next lawsuit.
Right. So
he's not even qualified to do it because he hasn't been doing the one he's got now for 10 years and purchasing, considering this guy to fulfill a new contract.
I know, but the standard, the way we do business just changed when I got into office, right? So I had to evacuate a lot of bad things. Right?
Oh yeah. Well, this is one of them.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, but many of them were around the water situation that was going on. When I took office, I had to evacuate all those poor things. But definitely, Kilbreth sent an email that he said he sent it to everybody in the world, right? And so that is how you arrive to the door. And so that is just a poor way to do it. And I'm telling you, he has no equity whatsoever, and I would never, equate you to be online or even yoked with a person like that, right? And then AC Dumas, both those guys arrived with their hands.
Dumas, I haven't seen him in a half a century either. He just showed up at the meeting. In fact, what disappointed me is he pulled a race card from the time I introduced myself. What you don't want black people to be in on this? I said, wait a minute, man, I didn't say anything about that. I just said hello. I just said hello, and what are you doing here? I said, what? You don't want black people here? I go, what? You got to be kidding me! If I got.
That is so funny. But you're on the same cloth, man. Did you see that letter that he sent off?
Yeah, he showed it to me. I said, well, if you think that's what I need to get their attention and get some of the information I need to submit a bid. I don't even have enough information to submit a bid. I don't know what equipment belongs to the city, what used to belong to the city, what's still there, what this guy's going to take with him, or anything. He said,
all right.
he said, I'll get their attention for
you. Matter of fact, if it was softer, next time tell me well, it wasn't electronic, I would have known exactly what to do with it. Because it doesn't mean anything. You know me well enough to know that what I'm saying the truth. Man, bids are bids. We want to take the best one that we have available, but
but let me interrupt you for a second there. This particular bid, Sheldon, should be going through the legal department and not purchasing. Purchasing is not familiar with buying letting contracts on leases. They should be going through the legal department, and they could maybe make the outlines and give it to legal. Give it to what's his name, Bennett. Give it to his department there to put together in a lease, and this would be the well, just like you would do a credit check on if you're renting a house. Well, they would come up with the outlines there. You need to have a certain level of credit or whatever, but they're not capable of doing some of the things that are there. This guy's been violating the lease for probably most of the 10 years that he's been there. I asked for copies of the inspections equipment, and they're supposed to be filed quarterly. I don't think they filed any in 10 years, and it's right there in the contract in black and white. I can read the paragraph to you if I had it in my hands.
Yeah, I hear those things, but I'm talking about something totally different. If you remember back in the day when Don was here,
yeah.
If you remember Donahue had the golf courses under Williamson, and he cut off their water. If you remember, he did a lot of things to get them out of there.
Oh well, you have your hand on the faucet. Turn it off.
No, I'm saying I don't do that. I don't use those same type of tactics.
Yeah, I know. I'm just teasing you about that.
But I just want to caution you about those individuals, and you can share with them or not, but I prefer you don't. But this is just a warning, just saying to my friend, hey, pay attention to who you're dealing with, because don't listen to these guys. Just go through the process as the process is. Those guys don't get you any favors whatsoever, or any attention that you kind of want. That's all. And I assume that it was with your clan too.
No, he's not. I like I said, I haven't talked to the guy in 5 years. I just he came in the room, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And that's like I said, he pulled the race card. He said, "What? Black people aren't allowed to be in there?" I said, "No, I didn't say that. I said hello, man. I didn't mean to stir anything up." So he has nothing to do with anything. Mike, on the other hand, is put together some legal issues and tried to FOIA some of the things, file some assumed name, everything. He has a extensive background in that kind of stuff, so I relied on him to do some of that for me. All right. Well, I've got. I asked the question there in the meeting, by the way, because the bid that was sent out, or the request for bids that were sent out, finally after I twisted her tail and told them I to put me on the list, calls for the mayor and the city council to sign that agreement. So I'm assuming that I can count on you to sign if I put my hat in the ring.
Yeah, but you don't bring that guy in my office. I tell you right now, we have a no-fly zone for that individual.
Okay.
I guess my first thought was, why is the mayor not like me? We had a group from the group of guys sitting around trying to figure that out. Most of them have been over the last few years angry at me because I endorsed the guy. I listened to a community activist named Art Woodson who told us everyone to vote for the guy. He was blasting Karen Weaver, kind of baffling. What does the mayor have against me? I'm a radio show host. For the last year, I haven't even been on the radio. And this guy, he says, I'm bad news, I guess is the way he described it. No fly zone at Flint City Hall for me. And a group of guys, had about 20 guys the other day at breakfast and trying to figure out what have I done to the mayor? The only things we could come up with were the Eric Mays incident, where one morning at 7 a.m., Eric Mays called my radio show from the hospital. And he said the mayor's chief of staff, his former brother-in-law, had beat the heck out of him at a bar. Now, we asked for a comment by text. We tried to call the mayor. We tried to call his office. We emailed him, everything. No response. We run the story with Eric Mays' side of it, and that he was making a report to the state police. Subsequently, the state police asked for a warrant. Our county prosecutor decided not to issue that warrant, which is strange when the state police said, yeah, we believe you should issue a warrant. And he says, no warrant, no problem here. It's okay to beat the hell out of people, a councilman. Are you kidding me? I don't understand that to this day, but it happened. Now, Sheldon Neely, after it went on our radio show, WWJ Detroit, WJR, 910 The Superstation, Fox 2, they all picked up the story. And within a couple hours, the mayor sent out a press release. And as Eric Mays has said a whole lot of times, there are a whole lot of lies in that press release. A political press release written by a city taxpayer-funded person. And you can't use your office for politics. And Eric Mays has hollered a lot about it. I guess I'm an enemy of the mayor because I've given Eric Mays a forum to talk about it on my radio show. The other incident would be the incident with John Gleason, where when Sheldon Neely got elected, it was a very close election. He had a press conference in John Gleason's office, the county clerk, and that's highly irregular. It shouldn't have happened. It's illegal. And they also made some misleading statements about absentee ballots, that they're being passed out by the Weaver team. Those were applications, by the way, not ballots. Complete misinformation. No, I'll say it. It was a lie. It wasn't true. Now, that was an incident. Put that in your memory bank. I guess that had him upset because he was part of that. Subsequently, John Gleason, he decided to go to war with Mike Kilbreth. Don't know why or what possessed him to, because I've always given him a forum on my show to blast whoever he wants to blast this week. And, I actually thought that John Gleason was one of the good guys. But I'll say right now, 9 out of 10 stories that John Gleason has given me over the years turned out to be not true. Trying to get me to put stuff on the radio. I don't do that. And John Gleason, he had a lot of problems. He tried to threaten staff members. And I initially backed him on this wedding that he performed in Shiawassee County. I think it was right before Christmas, and they wanted to, or before New Year's, they wanted to make sure that they were married. I think it was Christmas. Make sure they were married before, the baby came. I thought that was a nice gesture. He drove from Flint all the way down to the Shiawassee County. Problem became he wanted to backdate the marriage certificate. Quite honestly, I don't see any problem with that because he actually performed the marriage on that day. But apparently they didn't get the proper license. There's some problems with it. And at the time, I had some insurance guys call me up and say, Mike, how'd you like to be the insurance company? If they're married, we got to pay for the delivery. If they're not married, it's out of their own pocket. Okay, I see their point. We go on for several months. And John Gleason starts trying to get it backdated and trying to bully staff members. And he wanted it backdated, and he threatened a few staff members. And he got in trouble for threatening the staff members, not for the actual wedding. And he ended up getting a felony conviction. Now he's been convicted, or not convicted. He's been charged again with taking illegal campaign contributions, moving them around. He had his campaign coffers had some money. He tried to move it so they could use it for legal fees. He's got all kinds of problems. Maybe Sheldon Neely's mad at me because John Gleason's his friend. Maybe that's it. Because our radio show, we made sure John Gleason didn't have the office of county clerk. He's the guy counting votes, and he hires the lady who's accused of fixing an election in Flint Township to be the supervisor of all elections. We hit him hard. And he had to go away from his job. And John Gleason's now in retirement, no longer a politician. I think that was terms of his pleading guilty and not going to jail. He got probation. Kathy Funk got probation. Sheldon Neely, you got a lot of problems. This pay-to-play tape that I've revealed today, you're going to be hearing from the FBI, I can assure you. I had an hour conversation with a gentleman who a little surprised about the Flint office of the FBI missing in action. And I made it clear. You know, the last stories that I've done, Kathy Funk, she got probation. 5 guys, 5. Maybe lost an election because of her fixing the election for herself. And she pleaded guilty to doing this. She was supposed to write a letter of apology and get probation. Where's that letter of apology? I'd like to see it because I haven't seen it. I'm not saying she didn't write it. I just haven't been able to get my hands on it. Confusing. The FBI, they shook their head on that one. The FBI guy, I told him about the problem we had with John Gleason. Got his wrist slapped. Just slap his wrist. Don't do that anymore. No, you can't do it anymore. We won't let you serve. Before that, we had a police chief and a super chief here in Flint. Got indicted by the FBI and they got probation. We had a school board member convicted of stealing a bunch of money along with the lady at Career Alliance. Probation. They stole millions. We had school superintendents in the city of Flint stole money, one after another. They had the deal where David Davenport exposed them for all the money that was missing. Plan Moran went into a closed session, and according to David Davenport, who got in a little trouble for telling what happened on our show in the closed session, but they said, we don't want any part of this. There's money missing, lots. We're out of here. Nobody went to jail. They just made her resign. Where is the Flint office of the FBI? They raided City Hall during Dane Walling's tenure. We know all about a whole lot of shady stuff that went on there. When you look at the money that came from Lansing, we exposed where there's $385 million. And they've marked it NA. Both the Whitmer administration and prior to her, Rick Snyder's administration. We have more than 100 people killed, died in the water crisis. Nobody's going to jail. Tell you what, Flint office of the FBI, I think they should disband them because they haven't arrested anybody. And I want to read what the FBI's website says. In fact, the FBI, they list on their website, let me read this to you. Public corruption is the FBI's top criminal investigative priority. Did you hear that, Flint? All of Flint agents, and I have no use for the ones I've met. We had a lady, gentleman I talked to spent an hour and 10 minutes with me on the phone. He mentioned, well, what about the Flint guys? Yeah, well, down in Detroit, they've arrested, 40 some public officials. They've arrested 3 mayors here in the last 6-8 months for corruption. They hit 17 guys in the Rizzo garbage contract fiasco. The tolling Titan down there went to jail. Rizzo's in jail for the garbage company. A lot of public officials, union guys, the mayor of Detroit, bid rigging. 3 councilmen there got arrested on felonies. In Flint, probation's all we can go. And And that's going back 10 to 15 years to get those probation cases. It's disgusting to me. Flint is the public corruption capital of America. I'll say it. These UAW guys that got hit, a lot of them got their start right here in Flint. I tried to get the current director of UAW here in town, Stevie Dawes, to stand with me in announcing the Crime Commission, along with Sam Muma, the president of the AFL-CIO for a bunch of counties. He agreed. Steve Dawes never responded. I wanted to kind of restore some pride in the union guys around here, because I know those two guys to be pretty good guys. In my opinion, they're honest fellas who have the workers' best interests at heart. I would have liked to have had them stand on each side of me to announce this crime commission. And this crime commission is going to do some damage. I've provided a whole bunch of stuff I've been investigating from my couch. As I said at the press conference, we have a lot of cases. And I made a little bet with the FBI agent that I talked to that I bet I can recall Sheldon Neely and get him thrown out of office faster than you can get handcuffs on him. So, I don't know. That tape's pretty clear to me. He's trying to get some pay-to-play stuff. There's a lot of other issues that community activist Art Woodson has exposed that they need some attention. The garbage contract itself, $9 million more. That's what Woodson's claiming. I watched some of the hearings. They had investigative hearings. They shredded documents. I got a problem with it. That should be investigated by the FBI. There's been a lot of other issues. Number one, this Santos character in Congress who lied about everything. He didn't lie about, well, I guess he did lie about his education, but he didn't lie about it the way Sheldon Neely did. Sheldon Neely lied about it and then tried to say, oh, a staffer did that. Sheldon Neely said he had a degree from Saginaw Valley State University. Now, I supported him all 3 times he ran for state house. I thought he'd be a good leader. I endorsed him every time he ran for city council. When he ran for the state house, I thought it was clear he had that degree from Saginaw Valley. If he didn't have it, I never would have endorsed him. And a lot of folks, they blame me for Sheldon Neely going to Lansing because Omar Sims wanted that job. You know, Reed Landis made a funny song that we played, I don't know, 1,000 times about Omar Sims. A little clip of it for you. I'd like to hear it just one more time. Yeah, Sheldon, we did you a favor and helped you win a race you probably shouldn't have won when you went to the state house. And I've got to, since I'm contacted the FBI with this tape, I've got to tell on you again. One issue that continues to bother me. You just had got elected to the state house. You weren't even at that seat, I don't know, 6 months. And Art Woodson, the community activist who was recalling Mayor Weaver. You wanted to meet with John Carpenter and I, and we met you. And you wanted us to go to the business community because I was president of the Flint Area Chamber of Commerce. He was the immediate past president. You wanted us to get business people to kind of recruit you to run for mayor because it wouldn't look good for a guy who just won a seat in the House to want to now be Mayor Flint. You know, get a little pay raise. I kind of lost my enthusiasm for Sheldon right there. He did nothing during his time in the state house. I mean, nothing except go to Lansing, get a big check. Now his wife replaced him in Lansing when he won the job for mayor in Flint. His wife, no political experience, can't even talk. Nice lady from all accounts, what I understand. But she has no business in Lansing. If you doubt that, sit down and talk with her 5 minutes. That's what everybody tells me. I don't know. That's just what everyone says. Enough people say that I guess it must be true. I'll reserve judgment. I've heard her clips of her speaking in the state house, and seems that way. Everyone says she's a nice lady. Now, I don't understand Sheldon Neely being able to survive lying about his education. Where is the FBI? You charge this Republican guy in New York, but the Democrat guy in Flint doesn't get charged? I got a problem with that. Even if it was the other way around, I don't care. Why isn't he being charged? He should be charged tomorrow. Tomorrow, Monday morning, charging. He lied. And that's not all he's lied about. You know, a bunch of people on Facebook, and I see that Uncensored Politics got shut down. Rumor is that Sheldon Neely did it. I don't know if that's true. If he did, hey, that's a good thing you did, Sheldon. I'm glad you got to him, because they were doing a lot of damage. Not only bad-mouthing you and some of the other council people, just some nasty rhetoric, just a forum for no good. And I'm glad it's shut down, because it doesn't have a place in our community. But I want to apologize to everybody right now today, especially community activist Art Woods. You know, he urged me many times to blast Sheldon Neely on a lot of issues. And quite honestly, I've been hoping deep inside that Sheldon would do a good job. He would turn Flint around. He had a great State of the City speech his first time, a great, a swearing in speech. I was inspired. This guy's going to do good for Flint. He's full of hot air. He's delivered on none of his promises. Listen to that speech. Makes you sick what's happened to Flint. The police, there's no police. Crime is out of control. It's unbelievable. The city of Flint, I don't know if it can come back. I had a conversation with a gentleman who, he and I agree on some things, and I'll say his name, Delrico Lloyd. He's a county commissioner, successful guy in the UAW. He has a good job. To be mayor of Flint, you have to take a big pay cut. So he probably won't do it. But, he and I agree on something. You see all these empty buildings and boarded up houses. Some people see, looks like a scene out of Baghdad. Well, where you see disaster, I see opportunity. And we need guys like Delrico to take a leadership role, even if it's not an elected position. We've got to get people pulling together in Flint. And getting rid of Sheldon Neely is step one. There's a couple guys on the council that would be good replacements. Dennis Pfeiffer, Eric Mays. I'd take either one of those as temporary mayor. We're going to get a guy named Clyde if they recall Sheldon. This Clyde character, he had no business trying to be mayor of the city of Flint. He has no business being at Flint City Hall. He's not qualified, period. That's my opinion. He's not qualified. Seems like a nice guy in a bad situation, but he doesn't know how to make the city better. We need leadership in Flint. My opinion, I think we need to get a recall going on Sheldon Neely. And I've never been a recall fan. I did one recall with my newspapers down in Fenton. We got rid of some politicians in Fenton that were standing in the way of progress. Silver Lake Village was built because of that recall. The guy promised to bring 1,000 jobs, and there'd be 500 new houses. I think he brought 4,000 or 5,000 jobs. There were 2,000 or 3,000 houses built because of that development. So that recall helped the community move forward. This recall would do the same thing, because the city of Flint keeps moving backward. My goal, we've mentioned we're doing a new national TV show. I'd like to do the first show maybe at Atwood Stadium, fill the place for the first time since the Turkey Day games of Flint Central and Flint Northern. Maybe we'll give away a car for incentive for everybody to come to the stadium and sign a petition to recall Sheldon Neely. We can recall him in one day. All this work they've done in recalls I've seen, crazy. One day, that's all it would take me. I was accused of being involved in a Walling recall. All I did was rent on my office space. Bunch of cops and business leaders, and they got thousands of signatures, 22,000. And somehow they didn't have 7,000 good ones. That was not my leadership. That wouldn't happen. I'll get those petitions signed in one day. One day, we'll fill Atwood Stadium. Now, got to get my local TV or local show. Instead of a radio show, it's going to be a TV show. As I said in the open, we got some work to do. I had said after Thanksgiving, we're going to do a couple of YouTube videos, maybe like this one, and then we'll get in the studio and get serious about selling commercials and doing some things to help this community move forward. But it needs to move forward by getting rid of Sheldon Neely. This guy, he's got to go. I'm Mike Kilbreth. I got to go get some blood pressure pills. My wife's probably going to get mad. This might be my last show. Coming out of retirement today, and I might be retired tomorrow because I got to get some blood pressure pills to continue. I'm Mike Kilbreth. You're watching or listening to the Weekend Gazette.
Hang on, another morning jolt is coming after Mike takes his blood pressure meds.
You are listening to Metro Flint News Talk Radio, an affiliate of Crusader Communications Network.
This is CCN Radio.
Psst, it's me, your heart. High blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Just treat me better. After all, we're in this together.
To get your high blood pressure to a healthy range, visit heart.org/blood pressure. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
In 1966 in Anchorage, Alaska, a talented child was born. He would go on to be one out of only 11 Alaskans to make it to the major leagues. The odds of him striking out more than 3,000 hitters? 1 in 33 million. The odds of this pitcher being selected to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game 6 times? 1 in 48 million. The odds of this fast-balling philanthropist winning the World Series 3 times? 1 in 3 million. The odds of this man having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. Hi, I'm Kurt Schilling. Learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Autism is getting closer to home. From 1 in 5,000 only 20 years ago, today 1 in 110 children are diagnosed. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
What's the best decision you can make for your business?
Your membership in the Flint Area Chamber of Commerce is the best investment that your small business can make.
Hi, I'm Ryan Ishu with RE/MAX Real Estate Team, and Flint's future is looking so bright, I have to wear shades.
Visit us online, flintareachamber.org.
Your membership helps us develop a strong, united voice for the business community.
Building a better Flint and Genesee County.
Discoveries. They happen when we least expect them, in places we thought we knew. And discoveries have a way of teaching us a little more about ourselves along the way. Welcome to Flint and Genesee County, where up north meets down south. Home to Michigan's largest county park system and a vibrant culture. A place filled with discoveries we've yet to make, throughout acres of beautiful lakes, wetlands, and woods, and in the diverse city beyond. Where the uplifting melodies of gospel choirs fill the air, where the work of renowned artists color the galleries and museums, where the fresh fruits and vegetables at the downtown farmers market awaken our senses, and where the cultural center and planetarium broaden our view of the world. Let's spend a few days enjoying the wonders of Flint and Genesee County, where the joy of discovery is pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
back to Mike with more politics, sports, and lively conversation on local topics with whatever else is shaking in Genesee County. It's the Morning Gazette radio show with Mike Kilbreth.
And we're back here on the Weekend Gazette. I am Mike Kilbreth, and in this closing segment, we're going to take a look at the city of Burton before we hand out our bouquet of roses and our bushel of rotten apples for this week. And in the city of Burton, we have a whole lot of candidates for that bushel of rotten apples. A lot of troublemakers in Burton, starting with last year's loser in the mayoral race, Danny Wells, along with Matthew Smith, who was his campaign manager, and a whole lot of cops. All the cops in Burton except for the chief. And I got to clear the chief's name. All this stuff about him sleeping with fellow officers and sexual harassment and all the rumors started by cops. And this isn't the first time these guys have done this. You know, they went after Charlie Smiley. It's a good old boys network. And I uncovered a whole lot of stuff looking into what's going on in the city of Burton. I began looking into the chief because of an incident where 7 tenants had more than 100 vehicles at a car drive property. Unbelievable. I spoke out about it at a Burton City Council meeting. I thought the chief was the bad guy in this. It turns out this was a bunch of bad guys from the police department. I have recordings of numerous tapes of police officers telling citizens to get the hell out of Burton. You know, I brought this up once back in May, I believe, maybe June, and Steve Hefner, the city council president, said, I'd like to hear those tapes. Well, you'd think he would have gone over and maybe FOIA them like we did. Still waiting for our FOIAs, but I don't need them because I have tapes of the tenants taping these cops. It's despicable. It's shameful. And by the way, not taking a police report, Phil Hart, the commander at the state police post for 27 years, now the police chief out in Genesee Township, he confirmed for me what the law is and the fact that police officers must take a police report. Now, you don't have to investigate the crime, but you've got to take a report. Not in Burton. And we've had numerous citizens tell us that's what happens. And we've had Dwayne Haskins, his 4 years as mayor. He's had a lot of trouble with fellow city council members, employees. He has a former financial lady. He tried to have her arrested. David Layton should have arrested her, in my opinion. Now, Dwayne Haskins has been smeared by this woman. It's shameful. Matthew Smith coming from Davison to speak at council meetings. Todd Sorensen coming from Genesee Township to speak out against the mayor. He know not what he talk about. He's clueless. We've investigated it. And not just myself. We've had some people looking at it. Matter of fact, I'm at a point where I believe we need to call for the National Guard to come in for the city of Flint. And for Burton, maybe we ought to send the Genesee County Sheriff out there until we can get the police department under control. 30 days, we need to just lay everybody off. If Tina Conley wins the election, she's going to fire the chief anyway. I think it's time to clean house and get rid of all of them. I mean, every last officer except maybe a handful. And let the sheriff go in and run the place for 30 days and figure out what to do and hire some new officers. That's my vote. Dwayne Haskins, you know, there are lawsuits flying. He hasn't been able to tell his side of the story. The lawsuit that was just filed by the police chief sheds a lot of light on everything. My endorsement is for Dwayne Haskins for mayor of Burton to be reelected. I think he's done a great job out there, except for all the fighting with council members. And let's get rid of some council members, and that'll take care of that. Tina Conley's already running for mayor, and she's risking her spot. I remember she called me to ask if I'd give her a fair shot way back on the filing deadline day. I said, I'm not on the radio right now, but I hope to get back on the radio. And if I do, I'll give you a fair shot. Keep in touch. I haven't heard from her since. Probably embarrassed that she has Matthew Smith and Danny Wells working on her campaign with a whole lot of troublemaker cops. And I'm going to say it. The Good Old Boy Network, it's been dismantled by Dwayne Haskins. He's in the process. You know, we had a 14-year veteran of the department arrested for ethnic intimidation. He's facing charges. We had a K-9 officer fired for stealing money. Burton had an officer down at the casino on tape, apparently dating a married cop, by the way, and that was pretty bad. They fired him. He went to the sheriff's department, and we traced where all these bad, nasty rumors about the chief came from. It's from him and from some of the deputies at the Genesee County Sheriff's Department who have spread these tales all over this county, from one corner of the county to the other. And Brian Ross, he's a good man. I talked with Genesee County Sheriff Bob Pickell, and he mentioned that Brian Ross is also a very intelligent man. He's got one of those high IQs. He's in that special club, but more importantly than the honesty and the character and the integrity, former Sheriff Pickell talked about Brian Ross coming forward to help fire some of the bad apple officers or deputies at the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Chris Swanson has said that Dwayne Haskins and Brian Ross are of the highest possible caliber of integrity and honesty. These are good guys. And it's shameful what these Burton police officers have done to them. Just shameful. You know, and not only these guys, the leaders. One lieutenant got demoted. Another lieutenant, this Jones character that sued the city, he was fired. And I gave Dwayne Haskins a tape of an incident with this guy drunk in a bar at Sharky's. Almost the entire police force off duty at Burton was there for 7.5 hours drinking. I have recordings from waitresses, from people in the bar. It was terrible. And this Jones character, he went after this young girl. The young girl's boyfriend comes out of the restroom, and he starts getting into it with him. The boyfriend takes the girl outside to leave, and they're chanting, "Kick his ass, kick his ass," the Burton cops. This guy goes out in the parking lot. 3 big guys go out to make sure that everything's okay. He pulls out a badge. He threatens to kill the guy, the boyfriend of this young girl. These 3 guys go up on the hill at Speedway. If you look where the Sharky's is, they watch this incident. They call 911, and they want to be anonymous because he flashed a badge at them. And he's getting in his car maybe to drive away. They said to the state police, hey, this guy, he might get in his car and drive until the 911 call. And the state police said they'd keep it anonymous. A few minutes later, 2 cop cars pull in. One of them, this Jones character, he goes over to the cop car, starts talking, goes around to the other side. In the phone rings of the guy who made the 911 call anonymously. Terrible. And then it gets worse. He calls 911 and tells the supervisor, hey, this guy, I want to be anonymous. This guy's a cop, and he's threatening me. They said, well, make a complaint with the Burton police. He tried doing that. He got a call from a sergeant. And this sergeant, he works in another local police department over in the city of Davison. His name's Driggett. I want you to listen how he talked to this guy who wanted a complaint on the Burton officer who was drunk in public and threatening to kill people and threatened to beat him up. And here's the officer's phone call. This is chilling. And if this guy is still a police officer, after this show goes today, something's wrong with law enforcement in Genesee County. This guy needs to be removed. Mayor Bishop, this guy's got to go. I want you to listen to this recording and think about this. A guy calls to prevent a drunk driver, to prevent a young guy from being beaten up. And by the way, this guy tape recorded the young guy who had his life threatened by a police officer. Listen to this call.
Hi, Sergeant Dragon, City Borough Police.
Yes.
Hi, you called?
I called for what? What's that?
Someone from your phone number called 911 reference trouble at the Sharkies.
Yes.
We're out here. That's what I mean. Did you call?
I'm sorry, what was that?
That's what I mean. Did you call? There's no name. It's just an anonymous male called reference trouble. Just trying to figure out what's going on out there.
Where are you calling from? Who is this?
The Sergeant Brigade. I'm with the Saybrook Police Department. You called the Burton Police, called 911, and someone did from this phone number reference trouble at Sharkies.
I'll be dealing with the state police on this.
You'll be dealing with the state police. Well, I got an idea. Go to our station. We'll deal with it one-on-one, okay?
One-on-one. I already had the guy call me. We've got a major problem here. So I'm going to have the state deal with this and internal affairs.
I am internal affairs.
You are internal affairs?
Yes.
What's your name?
Sergeant Brigade.
All right. What's your badge number?
586.
All right. And what's your phone number I can reach you? You're calling from your private number.
Yeah, I don't give out my private cell phone number. I'm on the road running calls. If you want to reach me, call the office at 810-742-2542.
All right. Were you the officer that showed up to help them out?
My extension is 2508.
Okay. Were you the officer that showed up?
Yes.
Okay. Then why did that guy call me and threaten me?
I don't know.
How did he get my phone number?
Good guess.
That's why Internal Affairs is going to look into this, and you're not Internal Affairs.
Well, we don't have internal affairs. That's what Sergeant's
for. That's why I'm going to take this up with the state, because if I called something in on an anonymous tip because somebody's acting the way I just said, and he calls to threaten me.
Hey, guess what? 911's not an anonymous tip. 911's public information, buddy. That's what you
Then
don't
why
realize.
would he call me?
You want to pick up your phone and call 911 and make some type of accusation? You got to bet that's public information. There's nothing anonymous or secretive about it. It's all public information. So before you start throwing shit at me, you better understand what you're talking about.
I'm not throwing shit at anyone, but you know what?
Well, clearly you are, because you're calling 911 reference trouble, but you're hiding behind whatever's going on. You're hiding.
I'm not hiding
you're
behind
the
anything.
Situation. Then who are you and what's going on?
I'll deal with this tomorrow. This is not cool what
Okay,
you guys are doing.
exactly. You're hiding it. You don't want to tell me who you are or what's going on.
There's nothing.
All right, we're the Borough
Sir.
Police. I will tell you this right now. The state police will not do anything with it. They're going to tell you to go to Burton, and I can guarantee you that's exactly what they're going to do. So before you think you're going to call around to the state and county office on the full shit, they're not going to deal with it. I've been doing this for 13 years. I'm not stupid. Now, if you have a problem and you're calling 911, but you want to hide behind your name and not tell what's going on, that's on you. That's all on you. Now, if there's a problem, we can deal with it. But you want to see him play games and all this internal affairs. We don't have internal affairs. That's what Sergeant's for, and that's who I am. You want to see him call the state police. They're not going to do anything. You know what? You call the state police. No, we don't call the state police, because I tell you what they can tell you.
Sir, I'm not playing games. I'm giving factual information on what happened.
Okay, but you're not telling me anything. I asked you what happened, and you said I'll call the state police.
Well, because
you're not telling anybody what happened.
When he calls to threaten me on my cell phone, that's not cool.
I say he didn't threaten you. I promise you he didn't threaten you on your cell phone.
Oh, really?
I guarantee you $100 he didn't threaten you on a cell phone. Guarantee you.
Then why would he call me on my cell phone?
I'm calling you on your cell phone trying to figure out what's going on.
No, why would he? Immediately I get a phone call back from him.
Because it's public information.
It's not public information.
And as far as I'm concerned, you're filing a false police report. Because you're not
following. No, that's.
Well, by calling 911 and saying there's trouble, and then refusing to provide your name or what's going on, in my opinion, that's filing a false police report. Let's just take that up to the prosecutor.
I was giving factual information what I observed, and everything that I gave you was totally factual.
You didn't give me anything. That's why I'm calling you.
No, I didn't talk to you at all. I called 911. That's why I don't
Yeah,
understand why I'm
it's
getting
all
all these
recorded.
calls now. Because are you guys
Because
protecting
I'm
him?
asking you.
Who is this
I'm
guy that
asking
you're
you
protecting?
as a witness. I'm asking you as a witness. Okay, you as a witness, what happened? If you want to call 911 and report something, don't expect us
I
to
don't understand why.
investigate anything.
Why are you guys protecting? Who is this guy that you're protecting? I'm
Because
just really curious.
you're wasting my time. You're wasting my time.
Then why are you talking to me?
You're
if I'm
calling
wasting your time?
911 because I'm a little upset that you're going to call 911 and play games and waste my time.
I'm not playing games. I called because I was concerned and
Because
I had
if
information.
I find out who you are, I will issue a warrant for your arrest for false 911 use. So you better hope that your cell phone isn't tracked to some type of carrier. We subpoena that carrier and get your name and address.
Are you being serious?
I'm dead serious because right now you're playing games and I'm not happy about it.
Sir, I'm not playing any games. I called because
So you're
what I
clearly not
observed.
telling me what's going on. What did you observe? Tell me.
You know what we're going to do?
Okay, if you don't want to tell me this conversation's over, my name is Duncan Durgan. I'm City Burton Police Department.
Excuse
Any
me,
further
what
questions, my extension is 2508. Okay?
You know, I'm going to take this a step further. We're going to actually have the security tapes pulled and everything, and you're going to see what happened.
Okay.
And if
Well,
you guys
whatever you
are
want to do.
protecting this person that I called in on, whoever he is, everything I stated and called in factual was what I observed. I don't lie.
Okay. Well, you're not telling
You know what?
me. You're not telling me what happened, so there is no complaint.
Because I don't know who you are, and you're the second person to call me, basically to threaten me, just like you just said.
Sergeant Durgan with the City of Burton Police Department. I don't know how many times I'm going to tell you that.
I know. I don't know who that is. I'm not looking it up.
Okay, right. All right, whatever. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Absolutely unbelievable. If I didn't hear it with my own ears, I wouldn't believe that a police officer would do something like that. Unbelievable. Now, the FBI was called on this by this gentleman, and they investigated, and my sources tell me, the FBI was a little confused on why Burton didn't act. Tom Osterweiser was the chief at the time. There were disciplinary reports allegedly made. Chief Brian Ross couldn't find him when they fired Jones. The disciplinary folders for Driggett and Jones were both empty. Now, subsequently, several months later, they found the file for Jones about the incident in a jacket, filed and some other stuff that he'd left when he had been fired. So this story is a huge story. I don't think you've heard the last of it. This Jones guy, he was the man investigating on this car drive incident where 7 tenants had a bunch of vehicles stashed, where there was a big fight with a conservatorship over a gentleman who was put into a home, and they took all of his stuff and they seized all these cars, 100 and some cars. But the city of Burton's going to write some big checks to these 7 individuals, these tenants out there. And this Jones character, he was the one in the office with the main guy that was the one that had the incident with him and called on the 911. You don't think they targeted this guy? You don't think they targeted his friends who had vehicles there? They had a problem with a judge who made an egregious error and thought these vehicles belonged to the estate when they didn't. And there were titles. And as Judge Beagle said, titles trump anything. If the judge makes an order and orders the Secretary of State to change those titles to somebody's name, that's a different story. It didn't happen here. These titles are all in their names. My opinion here, we have some cops that need to go to jail. And Steve Hefner, you promised at a council meeting, you were concerned, that really concerns you to hear about Burton cops telling citizens to get the hell out of Burton. You should have pulled some 911 tapes. Too busy playing politics or hatred for Dwayne Haskins. It's going to cost you your political career because I hope voters throw you out on your ear on Tuesday. Your political career is over. Tina Connolly, you're a nice lady, but you hitched your wagon to the wrong group, as I said before. And you're going to be missed in Burton politics. But my endorsements for Tuesday, to review Mayor Haskins to be reelected, Trevor Rogers, Gary Wines, Greg Finner, and Tom Martin Bianco for City Council to be elected on Tuesday. And with that, all these guys deserve, a whole bunch of players deserve our rotten apples on our show today. And the only reason I don't give some of these clowns in Burton our bushel of rotten apples for all this nonsense they put residents through, I got to tell you, no doubt about it, my bushel of rotten apples going out to the mayor of Flint, Sheldon Neely, for hitting around that he wants some pay to play. He did everything but go out and say, you got to pay me to get the contract. Shameful. And Art Woodson, the community activist who many, many times, he's been screaming at me over the last 4 years, 5 years, that this guy's a crook. Art Woodson, I've had a hunch you're right all along, but when I heard the guy's own words on a tape blasting yours truly, and I've never done anything wrong for him. I never done anything to make him ticked off, other than the Eric Mays incident we told about and the incident with John Gleason. That's it. I've never ripped him on the radio. I've been rooting for him to do good, to do well. So, Sheldon Neely, this bushel of rotten apples is for you.
You know I'm happy a lot of things, but I ain't your fool. And I ain't gonna cry. You're just a rotten apple in my eye. I hope I'm giving back the only thing you ever gave to me. Misery.
And as is our tradition on my show, we like to close after the bushel of rotten apples is handed out with our bouquet of roses. And our bouquet of roses today goes out to all the high school football players and all their fans and their kids at their schools for teams that are playoff bound and continuing on in the Michigan High School Athletic Association state football playoffs. For all you folks, this Reed Landis production is dedicated to you for some Metro Flint pride that you've been spreading for our area.
Let's spread the news, get on your horse and ride. Tell all the neighborhoods about Metro Flint pride. We know we gotta do it, it's where memories reside. Like many before us, let's show 'em our Metro Flint pride. Let's spread the news, get on your horse and ride. Tell all the neighborhoods about Metro Flint pride. We know we gotta do it, it's where memories reside. Like many before us, let's show 'em our Metro Flint pride.